Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production. Starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather. With guest stars Donna Mills, Neva Patterson, Shelley Novak, Kurt Kasner. Special guest star Alan Feinstein. Tonight's episode, Portrait of Evil.
Well, what do you think?
Fantastic. I can't tell any difference between them.
See what I mean? It's going to work.
Yeah. But a miniature like that is one thing. Getting away with a copy of something this big.
Look, I'll have the Degas finished tonight. Come to my place and you be the judge.
Tony, I'm not the one we're going to have to fool. Guthrie's the expert. If we make the switch and he spots it as a forgery, we won't be out of the country before he has the police on us.
All right, forget it. Forget the whole thing. Stay married to that old miserly...
Darling, I know what I want. I just think it'd be safer to get a divorce. We can still go to Europe like we planned.
Baby, we've been through all this. I'm broke. When you leave him, you get nothing. Reinhardt saw to that before he married you when he tied up all his millions in his museum foundation.
We'd still have each other.
I'm used to starving alone. Not with a wife and maybe a few kids. But don't you see? I'd have to give up my painting.
I wouldn't let you do that.
Then let's finish what we've started. In 4 days, the Degas will be dry enough to make the switch. We take off for Europe with the 2 originals. We sell them for $300,000, maybe more.
And pray that Guthrie doesn't discover the forgeries until later.
Even if he does, he'd have a hard time convincing the police he hadn't bought copies in the first place. And it'd serve the old tightwad right.
Guthrie, I thought...
You thought I'd be miles away by now. Unfortunately, I had to come back for some papers I'd forgotten.
Mr. Reinhardt, it's not Abby's fault. It's all mine.
Mr. Barrow, you dirty, filthy scum. I never want to see you in my house again. Get out! Get out! Abby, my room. Oh. Oh.
It's his heart.
Reinhardt! Reinhardt! Reinhardt!
There's some pills in his room.
It can't be. It can't be. Reinhardt! Reinhardt, you can't do this to me. It can't be. Can't be. Can't be. He can't be.
Tony,
can't
stop
be.
it! Tony, stop it!
Oh, my God, what do we do now?
Doctor warned him about his heart.
We've blown it. The lawyers will have the entire state locked up and probate the paintings, everything.
I better call a doctor.
Abby, wait. 4 days. Until the copy's ready for the switch. Then we let him know he's dead.
Tony, we can't do that.
Why not? Nobody knows about it but us.
But we can't just...
Hide him, why not? I know just the place.
Barnaby!
Walter, I'm sorry I'm late. Ran into a little traffic coming out of Los Angeles.
I sure am glad you could come.
I love that drive up the coast. Santa Barbara brings back memories.
We're out back by the patio. Abby, Barnaby Jones, Mrs. Reinhardt.
Hello.
Still no word, huh?
No. Mr. Morgan, I know how anxious you are to talk to Guthrie, but as I keep telling you,
Yesterday I was anxious. Today I'm beginning to panic.
I really don't expect to hear from him before he gets back from his trip.
But you said a week, maybe longer. Barnaby, I'm going to be ruined unless I find Reinhardt before Monday.
Now, Walter, take it easy. Miss Reinhardt, I hope you don't mind my getting into this, but Walter asked me to help find your husband.
Barnaby is a private investigator. He's the best.
A detective? I told you. Guthrie is on an art buying trip. He's not a missing person.
Well, until somebody knows how to get a hold of him, he's missing as far as I'm concerned.
Walter, just thrashing around on the water is not going to get you across the lake. Now, Walter told me that your husband had an appointment a couple of nights ago to meet some attorneys, to sign some papers, something about a merger.
And I stand to lose $500,000 in commissions because Reinhardt disappeared.
Mr. Morgan, has it ever occurred to you that maybe Guthrie changed his mind about your deal?
Abby, it's not my deal. It's his deal. And unless something has happened to him, he wouldn't miss closing this deal for all the art in Rome.
Didn't you say that you had an appointment with the lawyers to talk about an extension?
Yeah, you're right. That's a good idea. You sure you don't need my help here anymore?
I'll manage.
All right. Goodbye. Now, Abby, anything you can think of, please.
Actually, I have an appointment myself.
Yes, I just have a question or two. Didn't your husband mention anything about where he was going?
To anyone who doesn't know him, it may sound a little strange, but my husband is a very eccentric collector.
So I've read.
What you probably haven't read, though, is how paranoid he's become about the art dealers jacking up the prices every time they hear Guthrie Reinhardt is making a new acquisition. So he keeps his trip secret now. Just takes off in the car and doesn't tell anyone.
Not even his wife.
All I know is he said he was going on a buying trip. He could be anywhere. London, New York, Paris. I just don't know.
Well, if he took his car, the probability is he didn't go that far.
Unless he left his car at the airport.
True.
I really have to go.
Yes, if I need any more information, I'll call you.
Well, guess I fixed all this for nothing.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I never turned down a cherry tart in a month with or without an R in it. Delicious.
Flattery will get you everywhere. I'm Liza.
Barnaby Jones.
I heard from the window. Look, I don't like sticking my nose into other people's business. But if I was looking for Mr. Reinhardt, I'd try Los Angeles.
Why Los Angeles?
Because that's where the towels mostly come from.
Towels?
Hotel towels. Seems every time he takes his car to go on one of his art buying trips, it's driving to Los Angeles. Then when he comes back, his bags always have some hotel towels in them.
Any particular hotel he seemed to favor?
No, different ones all the time. I guess that's how he keeps his whereabouts a secret. Won't you have another one?
No, thanks. One by limit. when I'm driving.
Tell me something. Do you like dancing? There's a real fine dance ballroom in town.
I'll give it some thought.
Abby, what are you doing here? We agreed it wasn't wise to be seen together until this thing was over.
Something's happened. Walter Morgan came by again looking for Guthrie. Only this time he brought Barnaby Jones with him, a private detective.
What? Does Morgan suspect anything?
No. He's just so frantic about this business deal of theirs that he brought Jones in to help him find Guthrie.
We need 2 more days. The painting will be dry by then.
What if Jones comes back? What do I tell him?
You just stick with your story, okay? You don't know anything, you understand?
All right.
All right, you better go now.
Seeing you all this time, I missed you.
I missed you too. In a few days, we'll have all the time in the world together.
Hey. Can I see the painting?
It's perfect if I say so myself. Voila.
You really are a wonderful artist.
In a few years, people start trying to forge my masterpieces.
I love you.
Ralph, this is the umpteenth time you drag me out to this nowhere beach, and all you ever do is take crummy pictures. What are you shooting now?
A masterpiece, Cindy. $1 million masterpiece.
Ask a silly question.
Fantastic, isn't it, Barnaby?
It looks like somebody dropped a crate of eggs on the kitchen floor.
Oh, Barnaby, you still don't know how to look at modern paintings.
I've looked at them every way, including standing on my head. But right now, I'm more interested in talking about Guthrie Reinhardt.
What do you want with that old skinflint?
Oh, I'm looking for him for a client of mine. He's supposed to be holed up somewhere here in Los Angeles.
Oh, so tell me. Not another one of his art raids.
Is that what they call them, art raids?
Well, what else? He comes skulking in like a vulture, has his stooges buy up all the talented new artists, and then forces the prices to go up by hoarding their paintings. You know what the worst of it is? Reinhardt doesn't even like art. He's just in it for the money.
How do I contact one of these stooges?
Oh, they never announce who they're fronting for. Just different people he sends in to poor mouth the galleries into selling cheap.
Wouldn't you think a man as important as Reinhardt would have a professional agent writing herd on his art acquisitions?
Well, you might try George Andre.
The art critic?
Mm-hmm. There's some people who say that he's the artistic eyes and ears behind Reinhardt's throne.
Well, thank you, Charlotte. Oh, and the next time you run across a Grandma Moses primitive, give me a call.
Get out of here, Barnaby.
Liza? Liza?
I'm down here in the cellar, Mrs. Reinhardt.
fridge is locked. How am I supposed to make dinner?
Everything's upstairs in the kitchen refrigerator. My husband moved it
He did? What for?
to make room for some wines and champagnes that he wanted chilled.
So he locked it up. Doesn't trust anybody anymore.
What was it, Ralph? Skunk?
Perfect. You're looking great as ever, Abby.
Thank you. You know, it's been lonely around here without you. Shouldn't stay away so long.
There's lots of things I shouldn't have done. Introduce you to my uncle, for one.
Come on. Stop wearing your heart on your sleeve. We were never that serious about each other.
Well, Uncle Guthrie didn't think so when he told me to get out and stay out. Now, that's a pretty price to pay, since my only talent is to live off his money.
It was always your problem, selling yourself short.
All right, I guess I do have another talent. An amateur's knack of photography, you might say. Here, take a look at this.
Blackmail?
Nothing personal, Abby. I mean, you're aces as far as I'm concerned. And knowing old Guthrie, I don't blame you looking elsewhere for some affection.
I know I shouldn't be shocked by what you're trying to do, but I am.
I want $25,000.
I don't have any money. You know that.
Abby, these pictures are all that stand between me and some crummy $2 an hour job. Now, I'm sure you're going to figure out a way to get it.
Ralph, be reasonable. The only cash I ever see is a small household allowance.
Would you rather me go to my uncle for it? He's a miser, but he does have pride. And I don't think he'll mind shelling out $25,000 just to keep these pictures out of circulation. I'll be back tomorrow. You see what you can do.
Mr. Andre? Your apartment house manager said I might find you here. I'm Barnaby Jones.
Mr. Jones, when a true gourmet eats, he eats alone.
I was hoping to talk with you about Guthrie Reinhardt.
Well, since we're talking about my bread and butter, please.
Thank you. I understand that you're Mr. Reinhardt's eyes and ears in the world of art.
Also his taste, his perception, and his discernment. Is that beautiful thing with you?
My secretary.
Over here. Please, do join us.
Mr. Andre is my daughter-in-law, Betty Jones.
Enchanté, mademoiselle. We'll join me, won't you?
Well, thank you, yes.
Any luck, Betty?
Oh, no. No, I'm afraid not. No one even resembling Guthrie Reinhardt checked into any of the better hotels.
Mr. Andre, I gather that if anyone knows the whereabouts of Mr. Reinhardt, that's you. Is he presently buying art here in Los Angeles?
Of course not. If he were here or anywhere in the world making acquisitions, I would be at his side.
You're positive because it's very important that we find Mr. Reinhardt.
I assure you, Mr. Jones. In fact, I spoke to Mr. Reinhardt only 2 days ago. An important young muralist has come on the market. I thought we could steal. Make a buy at a good price.
He wasn't interested?
Certainly he was, but he couldn't come. Something about an important business merger.
I guess that answers that question. Thank you very much, Mr. Andre.
Not leaving already?
I'm sorry. Life is full of sad goodbyes. Bon appetit.
I don't think I'm going to wait for Abby to come home, Liza, so why don't you just give her this as sort of a gift? Just tell her I couldn't go through with it. She'll understand.
Hello, Mr. Jones.
Hi.
This is Ralph Forrester, Mr. Reinhardt's nephew.
How do you do, sir? How do you do?
Mr. Jones has been looking for your uncle. He's a private detective.
Looking for him why? Is there something wrong?
I don't want to sound sinister, but your uncle hasn't been seen since Tuesday night.
Tuesday, what's that? 3 days? That's not too long, especially if he's been on one of those silly art buying trips.
He's not buying art. I checked that out.
You think something's happened to him?
It's beginning to look that way. Passing up a multi-million-dollar merger deal doesn't sound like the Guthrie Reinhardt that I have been reading about.
No, it doesn't sound like my uncle at all, does it? On second thought, I think I'll take the envelope. It's no big deal. Nice to meet you, Mr. Jones.
Sure. I stopped by Mr. Reinhardt's lawyer on my way over here. Apparently, the entire estate goes into the Museum Foundation. How does that sit with Mrs. Reinhardt and the nephew?
I generally keep my nose out of family matters. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking what I usually think when I run into a dead end. I better go back and start all over again.
Any way I can help, Mr. Jones?
Who was the last person that Mr. Reinhardt saw when he left here the other night?
Mrs., of course. I had the night off. Did a little dancing at the ballroom.
Was anyone else here?
Just Mr. Barrow, Tony Barrow, an artist of sorts Abby found in town. Got Mr. Reinhardt to put him on to restore some of the antique furniture.
Where do I find him?
He should be down cellar finishing an antique chair, but he isn't. You might try his house down in Carpinteria. Come on, I'll get you the address.
Thank you.
Should have stalled Ralph off longer, told him to come back in a few days.
I didn't have a chance to. Now he's probably at the house waiting for me. What am I going to say to him?
Anything. Tell him you'll give him the $25,000 tomorrow. By then it won't matter, we'll be gone.
What do you mean? Is it dry?
Well, the surface is. And that's all we have to worry about.
And we don't have to wait. Why don't we switch the paintings now and get out of here?
Now, hold on. We've got to take care of something first, remember?
When?
Set it up for tomorrow. Feel better?
I'll feel better when we're on the plane to Europe. Oh, I can't wait.
Don't leave without me.
No chance.
all right.
Oh, no.
What?
He's dead.
Barnaby!
However did you find me here?
By being the super detective you always hoped I'd be. I made a telephone call to the Reinhardt residence. The housekeeper told me where you were headed, and voila, I am here.
And what have you done for your proud and loving father-in-law lately?
I've done a great deal, but nothing's come of it. And I double-checked everything. I even made phone calls to his business connections in Europe. Guthrie Reinhardt isn't anywhere.
What about the car he was driving?
Well, the car isn't to be found in any railroad, bus, airline depot within a 200-mile radius of Santa Barbara. I swear, Barnaby, it's as though he's vanished off the face of the earth.
You know, I'm beginning to feel the same way, like I'm chasing a ghost. Come on.
Just a minute!
Hi. You Tony Barrow?
Yeah?
I'm Barnaby Jones, private investigator. This is my daughter-in-law, Betty Jones.
Oh, what can I do for you?
It's about Guthrie Reinhardt. May we come in?
Oh, yeah, sure. Come on in.
Ah. Very attractive place you have here.
Thank you. Oh, you'll have to excuse it. I was burning something in the fireplace.
Oh, it's very pungent, like film.
Film, yeah. Some old photographs that I want to get rid of.
They don't compare with the real thing, do they?
Real thing? Mr. Jones! You know how artists are. They don't like anyone to look at their work until it's finished.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
You'll have to forgive Barnaby. He's the reincarnated cat that curiosity killed.
About Mr. Reinhardt.
Oh, yes. I understand that you were over there last Tuesday night.
I did some restoration on an antique chair for him.
These creaky beach houses almost have a life of their own, don't they?
What's this all about? Something happened to Reinhardt?
I don't think that's exactly what I said.
Well, I called there to ask Mr. Reinhardt if there was anything more that I could do, and his wife said that he hasn't been heard from since the night I was there and that you were looking for him.
And you never went back?
Yeah, I finished what I was doing. No reason for me to go back.
Before Mr. Reinhardt left, did he indicate to you that his trip was anything other than another art hunt?
No. He wouldn't talk to me about his comings and goings. Is that all?
Yes. I hope we haven't bothered you.
Are you kidding? No bother at all.
Well, thank you very much for your cooperation, Mr. Barrow. Oh, that car up there on the hill looks a lot like one that belongs to Mr. Reinhardt's nephew, Ralph. You know him?
No.
Well, it's probably just a coincidence. He may be visiting one of the other houses along the way.
Anything else I can do for you, let me know.
Thank you very much.
What's the matter, Barnaby?
I don't know. Liza, the housekeeper, said that Tony hadn't finished his work over at Reinhardt's, and he says he had.
Well, maybe she didn't know that he had.
Maybe. Betty, when you get back into town, check out Ralph Forrester. See whether he has any friends that might have a beach house along here that he could have dropped in on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, but Mrs. Reinhardt says she has a headache. But if it's important...
No, don't bother. There is one thing, though, that you could help me with. A while ago, you said something about Tony Barrow doing some work on an antique chair. Did he ever finish it?
No. Oh, I don't think so.
If you're not positive, you mind if I take a look?
This way.
Thank you.
The workroom's down in the cellar. There it is on the bench.
Yeah, it's a long way from being finished.
And if it's not done by the time Mr. Reinhardt gets back, Tony will hear a lot of loud and angry words, you can bet.
Why did he stop working on it?
Oh, artists. Said it was more important to first finish a picture he was painting.
A picture he was painting.
Locks everywhere. Locks on the workroom, locks in the greenhouse. Now there's even a lock on the refrigerator.
Lock on a refrigerator?
What have you got there?
Looks like a small piece of fabric. Can you open this?
No. The lock's new. Boss didn't give me a key before he left.
Mind if I open it?
Go ahead. I'd like to see what kind of wine the old miser thinks is so important he's locked it up. Kind of a handy man to have around. Well, can you believe that? It's been empty all the time.
I'm not so sure about that. I got your message at the motel. What's going on?
Well, I thought you might want to talk to Tony again. It seems he wasn't telling the truth about Ralph Forrester.
He knows it.
When I was checking Ralph's house out, I ran into his girlfriend, Cindy, who was also looking for him. She said that Ralph introduced her to Tony in a restaurant 2 weeks ago.
Did you say anything about Ralph taking her out here to Tony's other times, like yesterday?
No, but she said that Ralph brought her out to the beach quite often. Seems he's a camera bug. Drove her crazy taking telephoto pictures of old houses along the beach.
Or maybe one particular house.
Tony's house.
Telephoto lenses that come in real handy taking pictures of people inside a house.
The photographs that Tony said he burned.
Just could be.
I think we're gonna have to come back later, Barnaby.
My tax man says that if I use these pics one more time, I can take a total tax write-off on them.
Barnaby. Hurry up.
Mr. Barrow? Ralph's car is gone. The rug in the closet is gone. The picture on the easel is gone.
And whatever he was burning is gone. Almost. Barnaby, come here. Yeah. It's Tony in a woman's hand.
Ever have the feeling you're on the right street, but it's so dark you can't find the right house?
Well, now, if Ralph took those pictures, how did Tony get a hold of them and why was he burning them? Blackmail, do you think?
This is not exactly the kind of picture you get 4 for a quarter on Santa Monica Pier.
Well, if it is blackmail, what in the world does it have to do with Reinhardt's disappearance?
It's a good question to ask Ralph. You got his phone number?
No, information should have it, though.
Liza, the housekeeper, might have it.
You want to talk to her?
Yeah.
Reinhardt residence.
Liza, this is Barnaby Jones.
Oh, Mr. Jones, it's terrible.
What's the matter?
It's Mr. Reinhardt. They found him. He's dead.
Guthrie.
I'm sorry, Ms. Reinhardt.
He was here all the time we were looking for him. He was here in his car, dead.
Barnaby, miss?
I'd like to go home now, please.
Of course.
Identical.
Let's see if there are any other loose ends we can tie up. Also identical.
Pretty tough way to find your man, huh, Barnaby?
Yeah. How do you read it, Cully?
Death by natural causes. You know about Reinhardt's bad heart, don't you?
Yeah, his lawyer said something about that.
Well, there are no skid marks or other signs of anything out of the ordinary. I figure the coroner's preliminary report will say he died of a heart attack, either before he ran his car off the road or immediately after.
Kind of a lonely stretch of road. Did you get an anonymous tip on where to find the car and the body?
Yeah. How'd you know?
Educated guess. If I had to guess again, I'd say that the autopsy report would reveal that death occurred 10 to 12 hours ago.
Yeah, that's what I'd guess. Yeah, I'll be right with you. Excuse me.
You hardly looked at the body. How do you know that it was dead for 10 or 12 hours?
I figured it would take that long for the body to lose all traces of having been refrigerated.
Refrigerator? The empty refrigerator you told me about.
Yes, at 42 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, refrigeration almost completely stops the process of decomposition, making it appear that the body was dead a much shorter period. In the case of Reinhardt, I would say 4 days shorter.
You gonna let the sheriff in on this?
As soon as I can prove it. See you back at the motel.
Mr. Jones, come in. I guess now that your job is finished here, you'll be going back to Los Angeles.
No. I don't think I'll be leaving right away. At least not until we settle a few things between the sheriff, you, me, and your boyfriend, Tony.
Am I supposed to understand what that means?
I think so.
Tony and a woman, apparently. So?
So the woman is wearing your bracelet. Did Ralph try to blackmail you with this?
Blackmail? That's ridiculous. I couldn't pay it even if it were true. I don't get anything worth mentioning from Guthrie's estate. You can check with Mr. Phillips, the estate lawyer.
I already have. That's the reason I've been chasing my tail for the last 3 days. I couldn't find out any way that you could profit from your husband's death. If you killed him, then everything would just be tied up in probate.
Of course.
Then I remembered something that I had seen over at Tony's beach house. The colors on his painting palette. The same pale magentas, same muted yellows, carrot yellows like those over there. Same warm Italian pink. Tony didn't let me look at one canvas. That was a Degas forgery, wasn't it?
We get deeper and deeper into this Alice's Wonderland, don't we?
Well, I think it would have required that type of imagination to rip off a man like your husband. And then he died before you could switch the pictures. So you had to keep him on ice until you did. That's what happened, isn't it?
No. Of course not. This isn't a forgery. This is real.
Yeah, the guy was a very talented man, and so is Tony. He even did a pretty good job of drawing it.
What are you doing?
Paint's not dry underneath. That's because it takes a full 4 weeks to dry a freshly painted canvas all the way through.
6 or 7 weeks sometimes. Honey, get the car and bring it around back.
Oh, you're going to take me somewhere the way you took Ralph and got rid of him.
What happened to Ralph was an accident.
Shut up.
It was an accident, Mr. Jones.
Well, if that's true, you're going to have a tough time proving it if I turn up dead, too.
Stay where you are, Mr. Jones. Abby, move!
Tony, tell him I was only trying to help you. Please, tell him. Tony!
I said get the car!
Tony. Tony. Oh.
Hello, operator. This is an emergency. Get me the sheriff.
Well, I'm sorry about your client, Mr. Jones. Guess he's in the same boat as me. We both have to look for a new source of money. Need a housekeeper?
But after you talk to the estate lawyer, you may find that you don't have to do any more housekeeping. It seems Guthrie Reinhardt wasn't as tight-fisted as everyone thought he was, at least as far as you're concerned.
You mean I mentioned in his will?
In big, round numbers.
And me with nobody to spend any of it on.
Well, I guess we ought to be moving along.
Are you in the book in case I ever get down your way?
He sure is.
I'll be seeing you, Liza.
You bet your sweet patootie you will.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, starring Buddy Epson, also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars, in alphabetical order, Sharon Acker, Diana Douglas, Charles Durning, Hayden Rourke, Barry Sullivan, special guest star, William Conrad. Tonight's episode, The Deadly Conspiracy, Part
2. Put together all the pieces, Tom. I've got proof. My peerless leader, Mr. McKenna himself. He's involved in a criminal conspiracy, and it's heavy.
All right, give.
The complications, Tom, it's close to unbelievable.
Hold a second, please. We have intercepts on every line in or out of the building, sir.
Record the call. She begins to say anything dangerous, jam the connection. And if Miss Grady intends any serious action against us, I'm afraid you'll have to terminate her.
Westland Liquors. West.
Your face was badly scratched by Doris Grady.
They set me up, Mr. Cannon. They put me in a box. I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. I couldn't do anything. I'm not a man anymore, Mr. Cannon. I'm impotent.
Obstinate. And a very super lady.
I understand how you feel, Tom. Why did you call me?
She said she had proof that the man she worked for, Bud McKenna, was involved with something criminal and big.
I don't want to talk to Gordon. Not yet. Not till this is all over. Not with what you tell me about these men, these investigators.
Cannon and Jones. Relax, Bud. You messed up letting Doris find that memo. But it's covered. He is expecting your call.
Oh, Bud, hello. It's good to hear your voice. I've got an old friend of yours here, Matt Vanner, who's still refusing to sell us his company.
Nothing personal, Gordon, but Montana Uranium's my baby. IRI's big enough to buy the whole state of Montana. Just leave me my little bit.
Still refusing, Miss Gordy?
He's still holding out, but I'm not giving up.
Matt, I'm ready to sweeten the deal. Not enough sugar in all those Hawaiian acres of yours. What is it? Controls!
My father's dead, Mr. McKenna. I've faced that. And the fact that I've inherited his shares in our company. I know IRI made him an offer.
More than just an offer, Miss Vanner. We had a number of very good meetings.
I'll look over this offer, but frankly, I don't think we're going to be interested.
I thought sure with him gone.
We underestimated the power of genetic inheritance. Well, the Vanners are an unlucky family. Laura's no mining expert. An accident isn't unlikely.
He won't accept your call.
What?
I told him you were already half soused.
Gordy set you on me. His own secretary. His own lousy spy. Well, you can tell him from me that if he won't accept my call, the next one will be from the police. Now get out!
Bud?
Must have been desperate. Your safety glass is hard to break. Watch your eyes. Acid. Either fuming nitric or a type of hydrofluoric.
A man facing indictment for murder might commit suicide. But he wouldn't bother to weaken his windows with acid first.
But all of the evidence pointed to Bud McKenna.
Then we'll just have to look past him, dig out new evidence. That's 3 murders now. Doris Grady, Matt Banner, and Bud McKenna. And we still don't know why.
McKenna had to hit that glass pretty hard. Either had to be pushed or thrown against it.
Pushed by whom? There was no one in the office.
Except his secretary, Alice Parks.
Alice Parks?
The only other human being in the office, and that's the reason you're going to investigate that lady.
You used to be a top-grade legal secretary, Betty. I'm sure the IRI would be delighted to hire you.
Dave told Chuck has some friends in personnel. We'll arrange for an opening in the legal department for you, near Miss Parks.
And we'll start digging into the life and times of Bud McKenna.
Lord, grant forgiveness to the troubled spirit of Bud McKenna. Now that he is freed of the agonies that led...
Just got word this morning, sir.
Now,
Miller's been placed in a psychiatric facility. Out of mind, out of sight.
that his spirit will find rest in your hands.
The government contract notification reached Montana Uranium today, Gordon.
To make Laura Vanna very happy.
Providing she's sensible.
If she accepts my offer, we get Montana Uranium. If she doesn't, that contract will go right up in her face, and we get Montana Uranium.
Bud McKenna is mourned deeply by all of us, but especially by his brother, who loved and cherished as only a brother can. For what bond is so deep as common blood? Now I take this time to ask Mr. Gordon McKenna to carry out his final wish.
Continue your thought, Lieutenant.
Look, Barnaby, I told you, as far as we're concerned, Bud McKenna committed suicide, and until there's any real evidence to the contrary...
I happen to have here the chemical analysis of the window glass in McKenna's office, which indicates that it had been weakened by acid. I think that warrants investigation. IRI might not agree.
IRI can pressure me, but they don't give me orders. All right? I'll open it up.
Sorry I messed up your report.
Oh, that's all right. Oh, Barnaby, do you have any other evidence?
No, but I might come up with something soon, like why McKenna got himself killed and how that ties in with a mining operation in Montana.
sure what Gordon McKenna wants or IRI offers, Roy. I intend to keep Montana uranium just the way my father wanted it. Independent.
Laura, be reasonable. We need capital.
Not anymore. I've just confirmed the go-ahead on a major government contract.
Oh, yeah? What kind of delivery schedule?
We don't have to make a delivery date. We're going to be licensed to set up our own uranium enrichment operation right here with government financing.
Oh, wow. We're not equipped to handle enriched uranium. That stuff's hot, really dangerous.
We're not going to build an H-bomb, Roy. Just make the government happy. And us a little rich.
Sounds good.
Banner, Barnaby Jones is Frank Cameron.
Hello.
I called you earlier.
And I told you then, my father died accidentally.
In a plane owned by International Redevelopment, just after he turned down their offer to buy your company.
You said you didn't have any proof.
Just a few coincidences. Bud McKenna was handling the negotiations for IRI, wasn't he?
Yes, and I told him we weren't for sale.
The refusal must have been a big disappointment to him because he stepped out of a 23rd floor window.
Suicide?
Or murder. Again connected to Montana uranium.
This still doesn't make any sense. Now, we're a small company. IRI could acquire 10 Montana uraniums, and it wouldn't be worth any more than a footnote in their annual report.
I understand you have a brand new government contract.
For enriched uranium, yes.
That's the stuff they use in military atomic explosive devices, isn't it? That makes you a rather special company. Who did your company deal with in Washington?
The Pentagon, of course. And one of my dad's personal contacts, Senator Dan Knox.
Knox arranged Tom Lochner's transfer to Washington. We checked Senator Knox out in this manner. He's tied to IRI closely.
Of course. They do a lot of government business. Dan Knox was a friend of my father's for over 15 years. I'm sorry, I just can't believe in some insane conspiracy.
Or you don't want to believe it, Miss Banner?
I'm sorry, gentlemen. My new contract means a lot of work. I've got to get at it.
No reason, no logic. But another dead end.
Yeah, up here, so far. Maybe Lieutenant Biddle has come up with something new on the McKenna murder.
Murder, huh?
You saw the technical evidence, John.
Yeah, your evidence. And on the basis of that evidence, I stuck my neck out and reopened this case.
That window glass was treated with acid.
It certainly was. And so was the glass in 7 other windows on this floor.
Well, I gotta admit, this kind of throws me. You got any explanation?
Very logical one. These windows are washed automatically twice a week. Somehow acid got mixed in with a detergent.
By whom?
The company's checking their records now. And I must say they're being very cooperative.
Well, that's fine, Miss Enright. I'll just show you where the photocopy machine is.
Now, this is Lieutenant Biddle, Sawyer. Tell him.
I'm real sorry. We use this acid to clean the stone surface. I don't know how it got into the detergent. I was real careful when I mixed it up.
We'll analyze it, Mr. Corcoran, but I'm sure it'll check out. And I'm very grateful.
Glad to be of help.
See, I had no idea that was switched.
I think you'll find it checks out, Lieutenant, on account of it was planted.
On 7 other windows?
Of course, to make McKenna's phony suicide stick.
Maybe it wasn't phony. My problem is trying to explain to my superiors why I ever opened up this can of worms. I'm gonna give you one warning. Any more meddling, and I will be forced to do my damnedest to get both your licenses lifted. Case closed.
Check. And mate. Don't want to play another, do you?
I'm afraid I'm not much of a match for you.
Well, I'm expecting a long-distance call. See you back at the office.
All not easy, but I think she's beginning to trust me. We're even going out to dinner tonight.
Did you learn anything?
I thought you'd never ask. Alice Parks was Gordon McKenna's private secretary for over 10 years, and his mistress.
Well, when the chairman of the board gets his private secretary to work for the vice president, that could mean he wanted her to spy for him. If she did that, she might have kept records.
Well, she has all her confidential notes in a memo pad, which she takes home with her every night after work.
You, say that she's invited you to dinner tonight, Betty.
Mm-hmm, yes.
You think you can keep her busy for a couple of hours?
Well, it shouldn't be any problem. She's also invited me to go with her to her health club. She's a fanatic about exercise.
What time would you be going to the health club?
Oh, dinner about 7, 8:30, I imagine.
Why don't you give me the address of the place? I'll just sort of mosey by around 8:30, just to be there.
Good. It'll give me time to get in and take a good look at the ladies' apartment.
It's 1132 South Motor.
Alice, why so early? I'm famished.
It's healthier to eat after you exercise. You'll feel marvelous. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2.
Alice, I can't. I really... Good grief, Alice, you've got to be made of rawhide and piano wire.
Well, I try to keep limber. Come on. And here we are. We use this room for self-defense exercise. It's really perfect.
Listen, Alice, really, I'm dead tired. And I really am hungry. Could we just go and eat?
But I promised to show you some holds. It'll only take a few minutes. It's a marvelous sport. Here, let me demonstrate a simple hip throw. Oh, you didn't land well, dear. One of the key things is learning how to fall.
Alice,
this is a superb way of keeping fit.
Alice, listen, I really don't want to...
Never try to grab, dear, or you could be taken by surprise. You know, I was surprised to learn how curious you were about me.
Let go of my hand.
Of course. One must be very careful with this kind of training. Somebody could get seriously hurt or even killed. Why were you so curious about me? What is it you wanted to know?
I have friends who know where I am.
Your father-in-law, Mr. Jones? Mr. Cannon? I won't be worried about you for quite a while yet. So, tell me, Betty, why are they so curious about me? What information do they have that makes them so nosy?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on, Betty. Be
If you kill me, it'll prove that you killed Bud McKenna, and we know who gave the orders.
Faulkner's the messenger, nothing more. Well, I guess it's time to go for the more advanced holes. Betty, what a thing to say. You're lucky there were no witnesses to prove you're a liar. And we were having such a fun time, Mr. Jones.
I'd like a little more of an explanation on that.
We were having a lesson in the art of self-defense. So useful for a woman of my age. I hope I wasn't too enthusiastic, dear. There we go.
What happened?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it.
I think I can make it out. It's in her own style, but it's all based on standard shorthand.
And get to translating, Betty. I want that woman in jail.
All the action plans on Montana uranium were in my notes, Gordon, in detail.
And now Jones and Cannon have them. It's bad.
We'll have to stop them.
No, not really. They were Bud's notes for Bud's plans, and Bud is dead. Alice, you can't be held responsible. You were his secretary. You simply took notes. Nevertheless, it might be a good idea for you to take a trip. Europe, maybe?
No. I won't be shipped off like that, Gordon.
No, Alice. A vacation. A vacation with pay. Lord knows you deserve it. Let's say $250,000. And a regular stipend.
But I want to be with you. Gordon, I know things can't be the way they were between us, but the world is full of pathetic little people, and you're so much more. You're going to change history, and I want to be part of that. I want to share that.
Alice, I want you with me. We'll go to Europe first, and then maybe Africa. You better get your passport ready and all the necessary inoculations.
First thing tomorrow morning?
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved you, Gordon. I'll never change.
In the morning.
She means that.
Unfortunately, she could have killed that girl. She's completely unreliable. Handle it.
Alice?
I don't mean kill her. Handle it gently. She deserves that.
I want to thank you all for being here today, General Stanford.
That's a big step, Miss Vanner. The first uranium enrichment facility under civilian control. Montana Uranium's a pilot project for the whole industry. Figured the least I could do is give it sort of a starting cheer.
Everything's ready, Laura.
Onward and upward.
That's radioactive.
What's happening?
I don't know.
It was sabotage. And I can't prove it.
Was anybody hurt or killed?
No, thank heaven. The accident wrecked a totally automated section. The only damage was that. And it's covered by insurance.
You think IRI rigged it?
I can't prove it. Officially, the accident is my fault. And now, of course, the banks and my board of directors are going to be pressured to move me out. and accept IRI's offer. Sell my company. I don't care about the company. They killed my father. What can I do?
Well, we haven't been able to put this puzzle together yet, but we do think that one of the big pieces is Senator Daniel Knox.
I've finished transcribing.
Find anything?
A lot more details on how they plan to take over Montana uranium. You know, it really sounds like a military operation, including the plan to remove Mr. Vanner. I'm sorry.
I know Dad was murdered, Betty.
What about motive? Why does IRI want Montana uranium so badly?
It's never mentioned in here.
The new enrichment process?
I don't see how. It might add, $1.5 million to our annual earnings. But IRI takes that much in every 8 hours.
What about military value?
After the uranium's enriched, it's under military guard. And it's counted by the gram. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
IRI was ready to do just about anything to get Montana uranium. Now, there's only one man in their organization with the power to arrange that, and that's the chairman of the board. That's Gordon McKenna.
You think he killed his brother?
Corcoran probably arranged it. Don Corcoran, vice president, public relations at IRI. An unlikely job for a retired Marine Corps colonel with a brilliant military record. McKenna buys only the best.
Anything on McKenna in there?
No, oh, wait a minute. Yes, meeting scheduled for the 18th. Mr. Gordon McKenna will chair it personally.
18th? It's tomorrow. Where?
There's just a name here. Damocles.
Is that Damocles as in sword of Damocles? As in threat? That could be a place, a person, or a code. I wonder if Tom would know anything about that. Hello, operator. I'd like to talk with Mr. Tom Lochner, the United States Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C.
And if he doesn't have an idea, we run into the same dead end. Now, we've got no choice. We've got to do some pushing on the one person who took those notes, Alice Parks. I know it'll never stand up, but if you swore out a complaint against her for assault and battery, it might just give us enough leverage, huh?
It will be my pleasure.
Europe, Africa. You're gonna have 2 sore arms, Alice.
Well, then you better hurry up, Sam, because I've got to get my passport renewed yet.
Out. She's definitely here in the hospital, in isolation.
Any reason given?
Doctor's orders. His name is Holbertson, Samuel Holbertson.
You can't see Miss Parks. The doctor left strict orders. Dr. Holbertson, these men insist on...
Seeing Miss Parks.
I'm sorry, that's impossible.
Then we'll have to get a court order, Doctor.
Very well. It's tragic. She had a violently toxic reaction to a combination of inoculations. The effect is permanent. Severe brain damage. Poor Miss Parks. For all effects and purposes, she's a vegetable.
Gentlemen, well, I got a piece of an answer anyway. Right out of Senator Knox's office. I told him how to contact him on business, committee business.
Is he attending McKenna's meeting?
Absolutely. Left Washington yesterday. Only I couldn't find out where it's being held.
Not even a smell of it?
Well, I think it's being held on the ocean somewhere. His legislative assistant told me he bought some seasick medicine.
Wait a minute. Damocles. Barnaby, that has to be a ship. That has to be registered. Come
Understood.
So the mine can be back in full operation inside 2 weeks, Mr. McKenna. I kept the damage to a minimum.
Did a clean job, Geddes. We should complete the Montana uranium acquisition by July. You'll continue as chief engineer. 6 months, you take over the president.
Thank you, sir.
Now, if you'll excuse us. Gentlemen. Gentlemen, we've had a number of meetings. We've all talked. I think enough to begin to understand how our interests might fit together.
Interesting. But first, to refresh everybody's memory, Yvonne Nielsen, shipbuilding. Hideki Ito, representing the Oturi Industrial Group. Iron ore, potash, bauxite. There, Egon Kramer, Europäische Commerzbank.
Premier, Kamim, Ali, tungsten, nickel, manganese. And Monsieur Jean Saint-Viance, sulfur, chemicals. And Sheikh Habib Khoury.
I own nothing. I control nothing.
Nay, verily, man is aggressive in wickedness when he seeth himself possessed of wealth. Habib Khoury, gentlemen, is a man of his people who sit on top of the sand, which sits on top of 60 billion barrels of oil.
Together, gentlemen, we own, control, influence enough of the world's resources to influence the world.
Power.
Certainly.
But I am already powerful. Why join with others to get more?
To do more.
Gentlemen, we are the only sane members of the multinational organizations. We can enforce that sanity. We can create a golden age and own it. Gentlemen, we can make the future.
Impressive. But there is one necessity. Oil.
For a price.
Habib Khoury, I'm prepared to pay it.
You said that a year ago, 6 months ago, again and again. Your words, Saidi McKenna, are like the wind.
Yes, but the words are done. IRI is acquiring Montana uranium. The government has licensed them to enrich nuclear fuel. Habib Khoury, I can guarantee you, within a year, enough enriched fuel to give your nation full atomic capability.
Military capability?
Exactly. Creating a new balance of power in the Middle East, in the world, for all of us.
Not yet. I've heard about the killings, all the trouble. I've heard all the promises. I must have proof.
That's right. Gentlemen, I believe you all know Senator Daniel Knox.
Gentlemen, I've gotten the legislation. Montana Uranium will be in charge of an enriched uranium facility.
With your military in control.
Exactly. Gentlemen, I'd like you all to meet General Todd Stanford.
I just returned from Montana Uranium's #3 mine. It'll be in production inside of a month. We'll be able to deliver in 3.
باسم Allah, Nahum, Ra'uf, in the name of God, the compassionate and the merciful. I agree.
Mr. Corcoran, would you advise the captain that we're ready to return?
Yeah. McKenna's job for Damocles. And transportation's coming. And here they come.
Habib Khoury. He's somewhere between 50 and 100 billion barrels of oil. Now, you say McKenna's the link-up, IRI?
That's right, Mr. Calvelli. The meeting was held on his boat right after his company took over Montana Uranium.
I see, but you've got no proof of any conspiracy.
Yeah, but what does all this add up to? A music festival?
With Senator Knox and General Stanford.
Well, that's terrific. You want me to send the Antitrust Division against the United States Senate and the Pentagon?
Why don't you start with IRI? You get Gordon McKenna and the whole thing will fall apart.
For meeting with a group of very powerful men? There's nothing illegal about it. I mean, we don't know that there is any agreement, cartel, or conspiracy. Habib Khoury doesn't have to join with anybody. He's got it all.
Look, McKenna has to be offering him something. What does Khoury want?
Not money, Allah knows. Luxury, no. The man's aesthetic. Power. Power to bend the Middle East his way.
Nuclear weapon?
Mr. Jones, that material is highly guarded.
Yes, by General Todd Stanford.
Dear God. That's why they wanted my company.
And sabotaged your plant to get it. While that plant was operating under a U.S. government contract, I might add.
You know something? You're all innocents. This man here is a heavyweight. Knox. The odds are this whole thing would get quashed, no matter what I did.
So you're not going to do anything?
Did I say that, Mr. Jones? Did I? You know, my father runs one of the finest apple orchards in Conoweema County. I can always go back to picking. It happens that I'm a government bureaucrat. It's no job for a sane man, right? Except it happens that I'm here because I care about this country.
So do we, Mr. Calvelli.
I'm going to open a full-throttle investigation of IRI, including the 3 alleged murders.
Thank you, Mr. Calvelli.
More than that, I want your help. Now, you know your plant inside out. I want you to go up to Montana. I'll contact the FBI there to assist you. I want you to bring back evidence of that sabotage.
Calvelli. Oh, he can be rough if he gets on a crusade. Are you positive?
We have a friend in the Department of Justice. Cavelli met with Cannon, Jones, and your staff investigator, Tom Lochner. And they're cooking up an investigation.
Oh, no, Gordon. I can't squash a Justice Department investigation. I'd be crucified.
You'll have to risk it, Daniel.
I've got political enemies.
You have a marriage position. You want to risk your career and your marriage against those photos?
All right. I'll squash the investigation. I'll try.
And you'll manage. I trust you, Daniel.
What about Jones and Cannon?
I want them terminated.
It'll raise a stink, Mr. McKenna.
I want them dead.
We'll be there in about 20 minutes.
That typical country around here, isn't it?
Looks like you're the only one wearing a parachute.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Are you fixing to go somewhere?
Just leaving you.
Oh, I wouldn't jump without that snap hook.
chopper crash? Yes. I was supposed to get in touch with him as soon as I could reach a phone.
Where is he?
Well, he's waiting some ranch.
McKenna!
That's all I know.
Jones and Cannon left Montana late this morning.
Your pilot failed, Corcoran.
He's in jail for attempted murder. It is possible he told them he was hired by me.
Oh, no.
I'm assuming that Jones and Cannon are coming here.
Good. Pilot can always change the story afterwards.
After what?
After I killed Jones and Cannon.
Ready? Pull.
He thinks he could bust IRI, but he doesn't think he can take down McKenna personally.
Murder, conspiracy to murder, attempted murder, except it all points to Corcoran. McKenna's still in the shadows. For a turnout. I'll throw the car into a skid. You roll out, and I'll be the decoy, okay?
The media campaign first in several mid-sized cities. Cincinnati, Omaha, St. Louis, right in America's heartland.
Good. If we can move public opinion, it will help me get the legislation through Congress.
Daniel, we don't move public opinion, we create it.
Not always that easy.
It will be. It will be.
Mr. McKenna? Your man Corcoran is dead. He gave us a dying statement that nailed you to the wall.
Have you had an accident, Mr.
Jones, Barnaby Jones.
Yes, yes, of course. Yes, I've heard of you.
In connection with the murder of Doris Grady or Matthew Vanner or your brother?
And it's a cheap and ugly innuendo, Mr. Jones. You've had an accident, yes, but that's no excuse for slander.
Slander, McKenna? We have Cochrane's statement that you ordered those 3 murders. He's going down, Senator. You still have time to turn government witness, unless you want to drown with him.
You're saying that Mr. Corcoran committed these crimes? Well, frankly, I find that very difficult to believe. But even the mere possibility I find chilling. Yes, I gave Mr. Corcoran considerable authority. He had my trust. But you're asking me to believe that he abused that trust and committed these crimes in behalf of IRI.
You're saying he committed those 3 murders on his own?
All I'm saying, of course, is I knew absolutely nothing about any of these actions. I had absolutely no responsibility. And if he had anything to do with the death of my brother...
Reports of my death were exaggerated, Mr. McKenna. And you were damn quick to lay all the blame on me.
Calvelli's investigation, the pilot's statement, Corcoran's testimony. I think you're dead, McKenna.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I'm a wealthy man. IRI has infinite resources. Our legal budget is perhaps larger than the Justice Department's. Oh, I may be indicted, yeah. There may be a trial. And it'll drag on for years and years and years, but in the end, I'll be vindicated.
And what will I be, Mr. McKenna?
I hope, Mr. Corcoran, that you'll be sensible. Just hang tough.
And I'll hang alone for God, for country, and for International Redevelopment, Inc. I think I needed a cause, Mr. McKenna. Something to believe in. But your brand new future world. It's your own reflection enlarged. There's no room for anybody else, and no reason why I should trust you. I'm deserting, Mr. McKenna.
Don't use your intelligence. We have a common interest.
No, Mr. McKenna. I'm no longer interested.
I guess that just about wraps it up.
Yeah. What can you expect from a professional killer? A man whose alliance knows no boundaries except his own skin.
Don't do it, McKenna. It's suicide.
Gordon, don't be stupid.
McKenna!
You'll never make it.
We can work this thing out.
I have the world. You want me to settle for pity bought with bribes? You want me to hang by a suspended sentence for the rest of my life? No.
Well, I don't know a word big enough to say it, but how about celebrating over dinner?
All of us.
Well, we're still tied up with Calvelli. Why don't you two go ahead?
Hey, that's a good idea.
How about it?
I'd love to. Bye.
Bye-bye. Now, as to dinner. You know, I have discovered a restaurant, Barnaby, that I'm sure you're going to love. It's called Cornelia's Country Cooking, and they fry everything from grits to coleslaw. It's your kind of place, old friend.
Well, Frank, you know I love country cooking, but not exclusively. Matter of fact, I was about to recommend the Pomerol, Cordon Bleu chef, sophisticated wine cellar.
Oh, well, let's go.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, starring Bobby Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Claudette Nevins, Ina Balin, Roger Perry, Michael LeClaire, Paul Carr. Tonight's episode, Beware the Dog.
I don't know if we're gonna make it out of this one, Buck. Been out of food for 3 days. The temperature must be 50 below zero. Oh, the wolves. I can almost feel their eyes watching us, just waiting for a chance to get us. Well, we've only got one chance, boy. We're gonna have to fight our way out. Colin! Colin! Yes, Mom? It's time to go. Be right there. Okay, now you know what to do, because we gotta go. Okay, come on.
Oh, yes, okay, down, Buck. I bet you put him up to that, huh?
Mom, can't we take him with us?
I said no.
Why not?
Because your father said so.
It's not my father. Come on, Buck. Come on now, you stay here and be a good boy, okay? Oh, you know it's gotta be this way. He's making it be this way. Okay, now I'll see you later.
Laura? Colin?
Mary's be home late. Please feed the dog.
Just about sums it all up.
Come on, you stupid mutt. Aren't you gonna eat it? Yeah, I love you too. There it is if you want it. Did you hear something?
Yes?
I'm Barnaby Jones. Would you be Mrs. Beecher?
No. I'm afraid Laura isn't here right now. Did you have an appointment with her?
Yes, I think I did. My secretary called yesterday. I may be a little early.
Well, if Laura had an appointment with you, I'm sure she'll be here. Why don't you come on in, Mr. Jones?
Thank you.
You can wait in here if you like.
Thank you.
I was a law partner of Mr. Beecher's. I just stopped by to pick up some papers he was working on at the time of his death.
Oh, you must be Claudia Elwood.
Yes, how did you know?
I represent California Meridian Insurance. Mr. Beecher carried a couple of rather large life insurance policies. One of them named your law firm as a beneficiary. I have an appointment to meet with your Mr. Carson later this afternoon.
Then you're an investigator.
Yes, because of the size of the policies, my company thought I ought to make a few inquiries into Mr. Beecher's accident.
Then you'd probably like to see where it happened.
Yes, I would, but I don't want to take you away from your work.
Oh. Believe me, Mr. Jones, if you're really going to investigate this accident, we're both working for exactly the same thing. According to the police report, Mr. Beecher came home, prepared a dish of food for the dog, and then brought it out here.
Yes, I saw the police report. They listed the attack as accidental. But you give me the impression that you think it was something more than that.
Well, Mr. Jones, all I can tell you is that that dog was very well trained by Laura's first husband. Now, Laura's got a special way with that dog. And everyone knows Laura's the kind of woman who gets what she goes after.
What are you telling him?
Only the truth, Laura. That Joe's death has left you a very wealthy woman. Something you wouldn't have been after the divorce.
Get out of my house.
Oh, with pleasure. Mr. Jones, good watchdogs don't attack unless they're ordered to.
You're the man hired by the insurance company?
Yes, ma'am. Barnaby Jones.
I'm George Roswell. Laura's first husband, Ed, and I were in the Air Force together.
Nice to meet you.
I don't know what Claudia was telling you. Joseph and I did have problems in our marriage, but we were working them out. There was no talk of divorce.
Well, an old preacher friend of mine used to say, a good marriage is kind of like picking huckleberries in the summertime. All the good ones seem to be surrounded by the sharpest thorns.
What can we do for you, Mr. Jones?
There was a double indemnity accidental death clause in Mr. Beecher's life insurance policy.
That's fairly standard, isn't it?
Yes, but the question here is a technical one. Just how much and what kind of training did the dog have?
I don't think I follow you.
Well, it all boils down to this. Was Buck ever given any formal attack training?
If he had been, then the insurance company won't want to pay off on the double indemnity clause, right?
Right.
Colin's father trained Buck to protect us. I don't think he trained him to be a killer. But where you draw the line, Mr. Jones, is up to you and your company.
Did the dog have any history of biting people?
No. Never. Now, if there are no more questions?
I had hoped to talk to your son, Mrs. Beecher.
Colin hasn't been seen since breakfast. But I suspect you can find him where we found him for the last 3 days. At the pound where they're holding Buck.
Colin?
Yeah?
My name's Barnaby Jones. Hi there, fella.
Did you come here looking for me?
For you and Buck. Yeah, I was hired to check into your stepfather's accident.
Oh, no, you're not gonna kill my dog. I'm not gonna let anybody kill my dog.
Oh, now. What happens to Buck is in somebody else's hands.
Oh, Buck wouldn't hurt anybody, not unless he had a good reason.
You think maybe your stepfather had been mistreating him?
He must have. Buck's the only friend I got.
Colin, your mother's on the phone. She wants to speak to you.
Go ahead, son. Buck will still be here when you get back.
I don't know how I'm going to tell the boy. The order came down about an hour ago.
Destroy him?
Noon tomorrow. Want to see something, Mr. Jones? Come on, Buck. Heel. Buck, stay. Buck, come. Stay. Buck, lie down. You think that's something? You ought to see him with Cullen. For 3 years now running, he and Buck have won the best obedience trained dog trophy. Come here, boy.
You know, I realize there's a big difference between obedience training and attack training, but could you take a friendly dog like this and retrain him into a killer?
Well, normally, I wouldn't think so. But when a dog's as smart as Buck, you could probably teach him anything.
Dan, I know Joe is working on a new will. All I want is a chance to find it.
You are a single-minded woman, aren't you?
Dan, if you'll just unseal Joe's files, I know it's in there someplace.
Oh, Mr. Carson, there's a Mr. Jones waiting for you.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
I'm Dan Carson. Sorry to have kept you waiting. We got held up in Judge's chambers.
That's perfectly all right.
I understand you've already met Miss Selwood.
Under less than pleasant circumstances, I'm afraid.
Claudia told me it wasn't a very pretty scene.
Well, I was puzzled when we got around to discussing divorce.
Laura denied all knowledge of it, of course.
I'm curious, why do you say of course?
Because, Mr. Jones, for Laura to admit that Joe was planning a divorce, or that he was in the process of changing his will, cutting both her and the boy out, would be to admit that she had a very good motive for murdering him.
Claudia.
Dan, I plan to prove everything I've just said.
You'll have to excuse her. She started working here about 6 years ago as a secretary. Joe Beecher took her under his wing and encouraged her to go to law school at night, helped her through the bar exam.
And you don't share her suspicions of Mrs. Beecher?
Let's just say that she took Joe's death pretty hard. However, you were interested in the partnership papers with Mr. Beecher? Had a copy made. Think you'll find it in order?
Thank you. You understand the company's interest?
$1 million corporate life insurance payoff? I think I'd want a thorough investigation, too.
What are you doing here?
I needed some of Joe's legal papers. I didn't want to disturb you.
You didn't want to disturb me, huh? You break into my house like a common thief? I ought to call the police and have them lock you up.
Oh, go right ahead. Call them. I'll tell them what I was really looking for. And maybe when they know, they'll be interested enough to look for themselves.
And what's that supposed to mean?
You know perfectly well. The proof that you had a very good reason to murder Joe.
Oh, Claudia, that's a laugh, isn't it? If anyone had a reason to murder Joe, I'd say it was probably you. You wouldn't be the first office trollop whose married lover boy was stringing her along with promises he never intended to keep.
You're forgetting one thing, Laura. It was your dog that killed Joe. Your dog. And who else but you would know how to set him on someone to kill them?
Mrs. Wiley?
Yes?
I'm Barnaby Jones. I was hired to look into Mr. Beecher's death.
Oh, well, what can I do for you?
According to Mrs. Beecher's statement, she and her son Colin had dinner with you here the night Mr. Beecher was killed.
That's right. They got here about 6:15, just about the time my husband was coming home from dinner, and they left sometime after 10.
You were good friends with the Beechers.
Oh, yeah, we were neighbors for over 7 years until Laura remarried last year and moved away. Our boys practically grew up together.
Mom? Can I go swimming over at Richie's house?
Jimmy, this is Mr. Jones. He's investigating Mr. Beecher's death.
Howdy.
Hi.
I'll bet you and Colin and Buck were terrific friends.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember if Buck ever showed any sign of being vicious? You know, biting and snapping at people?
No, sir. Buck never bit anyone.
It is a puzzle. A friendly dog suddenly turning mean. The other day, when Colin was over here for dinner, did he say anything then about Buck suddenly turning vicious?
No, sir. Colin didn't say anything to anyone that night. He was really mad about something. As soon as his mother left, he took off. Didn't even stay for dinner.
He didn't stay for dinner.
Go have your swim, son, and be home early.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
We have a point of contradiction.
You've got to understand, Mr. Jones. Laura married Joe because she thought it would be a stabilizing force for Colin, but Colin wouldn't accept him as a stepfather, and because of it, Laura and Joe had terrible fights.
What time did she leave?
A little after 7.
And Colin?
A few minutes later, but Laura didn't have anything to do with Joe's death. You've got to believe that.
Well, it isn't just me that's got to believe it. The police also.
Dear.
There's just one more question I have, Mrs. Wiley. Whatever happened to Mrs. Beecher's first husband?
Ed? Oh, he drowned. It was a real shame, too. He'd finally gotten that big break he'd waited for all his life. You know, the big job out of the country. They were going to be moving in a few weeks, but Colin was real upset because they wouldn't let him take Buck with him, so Ed took him on a fishing trip, you know, to try and cheer him up. And
what happened?
the boat overturned. And they say it was a real miracle that Colin and the dog got out of it alive.
Go back, go back.
Oh, hey. Don't worry, boy. Yeah, your family will be here soon. Yeah, won't be long now.
Come on, boy.
Come in. We've been expecting you.
I thought you might be.
I just got off the phone with Mary Wiley, Mr. Jones. I thought I told you once before that I felt my marriage and whatever problems it may or may not have had were none of yours or anybody else's business.
Well, ordinarily, I'd agree with you, ma'am, but right now, I'm trying to determine a fundamental issue in the death of your husband.
Whether Buck had formal attack training or not. Well, frankly, Mr. Jones, I do not care. And since it's so important to you and your company, why don't you just forget the double indemnity clause?
Well, that's very generous of you, ma'am, but that's not the issue I'm concerned with. The thing that bothers me is whether your husband's death was really accidental or murder.
Murder? But they have the dog.
Yes, I know that, Mr. Roswell, but I just can't believe that Buck would turn that suddenly unless he had reason to or somebody triggered him.
But the police report listed Joe's death as an accident.
That same report puts you and your son at the Wiley place at the time.
What do you want from me, Mr. Jones?
Well, let's start with the truth.
All right. I was with George that night. Okay? It's out in the open now.
We didn't start out to hide anything. After Joe was dead,
Claudia Elwood was making her wild charges, we thought it was best to leave things as they were, letting everybody believe that Laura was at Mary's.
I don't suppose there's anyone who could verify where you two were at the time of the attack.
No. I'm afraid we were quite alone.
We're looking for Colin. Is he here?
No, what's happened?
I'm afraid he broke into the shelter and took Buck.
Colin and Buck used to roam those hills by the hours. I don't know where else they could possibly be.
Thank you. Miss Beecher, the night your husband was killed, have you any idea where Colin went to after he left the Wileys?
Well, he said he walked home through the shopping area, stopped to watch a baseball game in a store window, and... Oh, surely you don't think that...
Mr. Jones, your daughter-in-law is on the phone.
Thank you. Hello?
Barnaby, I just had a meeting with my friend at the office building where Joe Beecher worked.
I hope you two had a nice class reunion.
We certainly did. And she says the word is that Joe Beecher and Claudia Elwood were having a hot and heavy romance, but that Mrs. Beecher was putting on the pressure.
With any results?
Husband Joe was beginning to toe the line, much to the displeasure of Miss Elwood.
Good work, Betty. Now, I want you to check out a George Roswell, R-O-S-W-E-L-L. He's local. Check the Air Force for background.
All right. But Barnaby, wait, there's more. In checking on Miss Elwood's hometown up in Idaho, I found that her father was a veterinarian up there. He also had a business on the side. A kennel for breeding and training of guard and attack dogs. Interesting?
Don't you know it's past 6 o'clock?
Dad, I'm going to find that will if I have to go through every piece of paper in this office.
Well, if that's what it's going to take to get us back to normal, I wish you Godspeed.
Thanks. Good night. I'll see you in the morning.
All right. Well, Mr. Jones, coming to pay off our insurance claim?
Well, no, there are still a few details to be worked out. I came over to see Miss Elwood.
Oh, she's over there in Joe Beecher's old office.
Thank you.
Yes?
Elwood?
Oh, Mr. Jones. Is there something I can do for you?
Well, yes. My daughter-in-law, Betty, had a very interesting reunion with an old college friend today.
Well, that's very nice, I'm sure.
So happens that the friend works here in this building, and she seemed to know a great deal about you and the late Mr. Beecher.
We were in love. Is that what you're leading up to?
According to the friend, the romance seemed to have died down, mostly on his part.
It's a damn lie. I loved Joe, and he loved me. I knew it, and he knew it, and Laura knew it. And that's why she used that dog to kill him.
That's a very strong accusation.
And it's going to be even stronger when I find that new will Joe was working on. And prove that Laura knew he was going to divorce her.
Well, when you find it, I wouldn't mind reading that document myself.
Mr. Jones, in that case, I'll put you at the top of my list. You'll be the first person I call when I find it.
That's right friendly of you, Miss Elwood. I guess I better go now and let you continue with your work. Oh, that's a very interesting theory of yours, that somebody used a dog for a murder weapon. In order for somebody to kill Mr. Beecher that way, they would have had to have some skills in dog handling and training.
Yes, I suppose they would.
You know, come to think of it, Miss Elwood, with your background, your father's kennels and all, that description could even fit you. Betty! What are you still doing here?
Now you show up. I've just spent the last 20 minutes transcribing my notes from shorthand so that you could read them. Is there any news on Colin and Buck?
No. Nothing on either one of them. Police have a helicopter with a searchlight on it combing the hills back of the house. It's pretty cold up there at night.
Oh, those are your calls, and also some preliminary information on George Roswell. It seems that he was indeed a very close family friend. In fact, many of their friends were very surprised when Laura decided to marry Beecher last year instead of Roswell.
Any guesses on the reason for the switch?
Best I could do was, as with Scarlett O'Hara, Laura had had her fill of poverty. Beecher had plenty of money, and George Roswell is a struggling architect.
Claudia Elwood called.
About 20 minutes ago.
See if you can get her on the phone.
Oh, by the way, a couple of months ago, George Roswell approached Beecher to help finance a large housing project he had planned. And despite pressure from Laura, Beecher turned him down. There doesn't seem to be any answer, Barnaby. I imagine she's gone home.
Make a note, call her first thing in the morning. And I want to dig a little deeper into the financial situation of George Roswell. And while you're at it, do the same thing for Dan Carson.
Beecher's partner?
I'd like to know just how great a need he has for the $1 million in insurance he's about to collect.
Colin, are you in here? Colin. Colin, call him off. Colin! Colin! Stop him, for God's sake! Colin! Colin!
All right. How did you know?
I take it you've had your chat with the coroner?
I just left him. He finished re-examining Miss Elwood's body, and he found just what you said he might. Scratch marks that might have come from a dog. Now, how did you know?
Over this way, Lieutenant.
My men are getting sloppy.
Not necessarily. They weren't looking for dog tracks, and I was. From the size of the track, I would imagine it was a pretty big dog, possibly a German Shepherd.
Looks like I owe you for this one. When do I pay the bill? Now or later?
Right now would be very nice, Lieutenant. If I wouldn't get in the way of your forensic experts, I'd like to take off a set of prints for myself.
Take what you want. Just leave a couple of good ones for my team of forensic experts, all right?
I got my equipment.
Lieutenant?
Yeah?
Excuse me, Lieutenant. I just had a talk with the parking attendant who was on duty last night.
He was on the ground floor when he heard Miss Elwood. He says that she kept screaming one word over and over.
Which was?
Well, that's what doesn't make any sense. You see, he said she kept screaming, calling, 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 but who could she be calling?
Calling? Or Colin?
Hi, Jimmy.
I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Well, I guess I can understand how you feel, and believe me, Jimmy, I wouldn't be here if it weren't important. Now, you're a friend of Colin's. You know where he and Buck are hiding?
I don't know where they are. I already told the police that.
You sure? Might be someplace where the three of you used to play when he lived next door.
No, I told you I don't know where they are.
Well, it's just that I'm so worried about Buck.
No, you're not. You're just like all the rest. You just want to see him put to sleep.
Well, the sad part of it is, they may not have to destroy him anymore. If they don't get to him soon, it'll be too late anyway. He'll be dead.
What do you mean he'll be dead?
When he was in that animal shelter, they gave him some medicine. It was the wrong prescription. If he doesn't get the antidote soon, it'll be too late. Well, sorry to bother you.
Pork and beans. Guess it ain't the best breakfast in the world, but it's all we got, boy. Colin, you gotta get Buck to a vet real soon. What are you talking about? That Mr. Jones came by. He said that they gave Buck some medicine while he was at the pound. And if he doesn't get some more, he's gonna die. Are you sure?
No, he's not sure. Sorry to trick you, son, but that's the only way I could get you to lead me to your friends. Colin? I understand you're going on 13 now, son. Back where I come from, the boy gets that age, we kind of expect him to act like a man every now and then. Now, you can't run away from this trouble. You better stay and face it like a man.
No, I'm not gonna let him kill my dog. He didn't kill my stepfather. He didn't.
You know, the funny thing is, I don't think he did either. But we can't prove anything just by wanting to. We need evidence. And I think between all of us, we might be able to prove that we're right.
Well, how?
Jimmy, in the back of my car, there's some testing equipment. Bring it down here.
How?
Yes, sir. I think between the two of us, we can work this out. There we go. Four for four and not a match. What's this? A little cut,
Oh, I guess maybe he got that when I cut him out of his cage.
Doesn't seem to match any of the other prints. Well, this proves that Buck wasn't the dog in the garage last night.
But they'll still want him for killing my stepfather.
I don't think so, son. I think when we show these prints to the police, they'll realize that it would be pretty coincidental for two identical killer dogs to be roving the city at the same time. You know what? I think it's time for you and Buck to go home. And I think your mother will be glad to see you.
Oh, Colin, you had me so worried. I'm sorry, Mom, but I had to do it. I couldn't let him kill Buck.
Colin, I'm afraid the authorities are still going to want him.
No, not now. Mr. Jones says he can prove that it wasn't Buck.
Are you trying to tell me that Buck didn't kill my husband?
We could make a very strong case for that.
That's ridiculous. That would mean that there was another dog in the backyard that night.
That's the way it seems to lay out, Mr. Roswell.
But Joe didn't like dogs. Well, he was afraid of them. He wouldn't have gone out in the backyard for any other dog but Buck.
That may be, but he may have gone out there to feed a dog he thought was Buck. May I use your telephone? I think Lieutenant Biddle ought to know that Colin and Buck are home.
You can use the one in the den if you like.
Thank you.
George, you're not going, are you?
I can't stay. Look, Colin is back. There are things that I have to take care of.
But
Barnaby, I have been trying for over an hour to reach you.
Sorry, Betty, I was visiting a friend over at Veterans Administration. What do you got?
Well, the financial information you wanted. George Roswell was in deep trouble. The housing project that he wanted Beecher to fund apparently had been his last hope to avoid bankruptcy.
Had been.
Well, it was announced yesterday. The housing project is going ahead as scheduled. Laura Beecher has agreed to underwrite it.
What about Dan Carson?
Oh, well, the opposite end of the financial scale altogether. Besides the law practice, at which he does very well, he's the head of a large land development company. No, the only thing $1 million insurance payoff will do for him is maybe give him, a few banking problems.
See if you can get Dan Carson on the phone.
What were you doing over at the Veterans Administration office?
I was trying to follow through on that picture I saw in the Beecher study. Wanted to find out what George Roswell and Colin's father did when they were in the service.
Did you?
I had to call Military Personnel Records Bureau. They were both air police assigned to SAC Base Security.
Yes. Barnaby Jones for Mr. Carson. Is he in, please?
Part of their jobs were training and handling German Shepherds for patrol dogs.
Yes, Mr. Carson. Just one moment, please.
Carson? Yes, what can I do for you, Mr. Jones?
Well, I was wondering whether we could come over to your office for a little while.
Well, I can't promise to be here. I'm still in a bit of shock. First Joe and then Claudia. I have commitments to meet, court appearances.
I can certainly understand your problems, Mr. Carson. And actually, we don't need your physical presence. It's just that before Miss Elwood died, she became convinced that the reason for Joe Beecher's death was in his file. And what I'm asking for is permission for us to go through the file.
Well, if you think it'd do any good, I'll tell my secretary to expect you.
Well, thank you. We should be there within a half hour.
We should be there?
Well, you are the one with the office expertise, aren't you?
And you think whatever I'll be looking for in Beecher's office was probably misfiled, huh?
Either that, or Joe Beecher felt the need to deliberately hide it.
Where will you be? Dog kennels?
Dog kennel that raises and trains German Shepherds for security work.
All right, come on, jump! Get it! Get it! Attaboy, come on. Come on, get it!
Yeah, I used to raise hounds down home. Best hunting dogs in the Ozarks. Moved to California to be near our growed-up kids and found out nobody here got time to go hunting. Seems like all they do is try to hang on to what they already got. So we started raising these animals. Now, even with that pad, if Ray didn't know just how to move, that dog would tear him to pieces. Oh, thank you, Billy. Don't know if you'll find what you're looking for in here, Mr. Jones, but that's everybody that bought dogs from us in the last 6 months.
Well, I've checked out the other 3 kennels in this area that train security dogs. And if I don't find what I'm looking for here, it may be that I just made a wrong guess.
Well, what's the verdict? You find a name that strikes your fancy?
I think maybe so.
Who are you?
I'm Betty Jones, Barnaby Jones's daughter-in-law. You must be Mr. Carson.
That's right. I was just on my way to court. I thought I'd stop by and say hello to your father-in-law. Is he here?
Well, I'm afraid that I draw all the paperwork in the family. He's out checking dog kennels.
Well, just tell him I said hello.
I'll do that, Mr. Carson.
Thank you.
You look enough like Buck to be his twin brother. I think it's time we let people know about you.
Carson, call up your dog. Don't make me shoot him. Now, Carson!
You Mr. Jones?
Yes. This is Mr. Carson, the man you want.
Your daughter-in-law's the one that called us. She said you might need some help out here.
That girl's timing is getting better with each passing day. Dan Carson's land development investment group was a swindle. Your husband found out about it, amassed some powerful evidence, and was blackmailing him.
But why did Dan kill Claudia?
Beecher hid the evidence in an envelope and taped it to the bottom of a filing drawer. Carson looked for it, but never found it.
And when Claudia started looking for papers indicating a new will,
Which incidentally never existed.
Carson was afraid that she'd find the blackmail evidence, which would, of course, point to him as Mr. Beecher's murderer.
After Carson killed Claudia, he looked for the evidence again. Satisfied that it wasn't in the drawer, he allowed us to look.
Us?
A figure of speech, Betty, purely. Now, I think that we ought to get out of here and let these folks get on with plans for their housing project.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Jones, I just wanted to thank you. I mean, I guess there was even a little while there when I thought Buck was a killer. But you always believed in him.
That's true, Barnaby, from the very beginning. How did you know that Buck wasn't the killer?
That was the easiest part of the case, Betty. Buck told me. Didn't you, boy?
Bye. Bye-bye.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production starring Buddy Ebsen, also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars A. Martinez, Lyndon Childs, Lee Christian, Eric Estrada, special guest star Christopher Stone. Tonight's episode, Shadow of Guilt.
Just let me explain.
Jenny, we are not going to talk about it anymore.
Well, how can I convince you that you're wrong about Rod and me? It was all so perfectly innocent.
I said no more. Unless, of course, you want to talk about divorce. You want to talk about divorce, Jenny?
Está bien, Carlos. You learned fast.
Then fix it so I can stay. Hey, look, you've got to help me out on this, Esteban. The cops will never look for me here.
My sister, if she was alive today to see all the trouble you still get into.
Look, just talk to Harrison, okay? Ask him to give me a job. He'll listen to you.
Mira, Carlos, it's much better for you to go to the police and tell them everything.
Uncle, I told you last night the cops will lock me up first. Then they got all the time in the world to listen. My time.
But if you did not steal a car, you should have no trouble clearing yourself.
Oh, you don't understand.
Go. Finish trimming those trees. We'll talk later.
All right. But don't forget.
Buenos días, señor Harrison. ¿Cómo está?
Buenos días, Esteban.
Señor Harrison, I should like to talk to you about my nephew, Carlos.
What?
The boy needs to find work.
No, not now, Esteban.
to talk to you.
Kersey. Well, looks like you've learned my habits pretty well. What time I take my morning ride? What nights I go to the club and leave my wife home alone?
You're wrong about Jenny and me, Lyle. Last night was... It's not what you think. Believe me,
I told you, you're fired. Now get off my property. And if you set foot on here one more time, I'm going to call the police.
Can't kick me out like this, Lyle. It'll ruin me. You gotta give me another chance.
Kersey, let me by!
Can't do this to me!
Kersey!
Take me away with this, Lyle! Let go of me! Can't do this to me! Not after all the time I put in with you!
Yeah. Hi. I'm Barnaby Jones. Mrs. Harrison knows about me.
Jones, from the insurance company. Sure, come on in. Thank you. My name is Kersey. I'm vice president of Maplewood Enterprises. The boss's death has been quite a shock to Jenny, Mrs. Harrison.
Yes, I can imagine.
I'd like to spare her as much as possible. She's been under a terrific strain with the funeral and all. So if you could keep it brief, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Who is it, Rod?
This is the insurance investigator from California Meridian. Mr. Jones, Mrs. Harrison.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Harrison, I'm sorry to bother you at a time like this.
Well, I don't know how I can help you, Mr. Jones. I've told the police everything I know.
Well, there are just a few questions concerning the insurance claim. Did your husband ride often?
Almost every morning. Lyle loved riding.
But this is the first time he was thrown.
At least since I've known him. We'd been married 3 years.
According to the police report, there are no witnesses to the accident.
That's correct.
Your stableman, Esteban, found the body.
Yes, he came running to the house to tell me. Oh, it was awful.
You said just a few questions, Mr. Jones.
Yes, that'll be all for now. I would like to speak with Esteban.
Of course, he's through that door. There's a path that will lead to the stables.
Thank you.
The police, reporters, and now a private investigator. When is all this going to stop?
Ginny, look. I told you not to worry about it. Insurance companies are always very careful, especially when double indemnity is involved. I promise you, when Mr. Jones is through, I will be the only one left to bother you.
But all these lies. Wouldn't it have just been simpler to have told the truth?
Then I'd have to explain why we argued, why he attacked me. You'd have been dragged into it. There'd be a bunch of questions about that night.
and all the other nights. The newspapers and probably some ambitious district attorney would have had a field day making something sinister out of it. Believe me, it's better just the way it is.
Bravo.
Carlos! Oh, Carlos. Oh, you had me so worried. I told you the police would believe you, that they wouldn't put you in jail.
I didn't go to the police.
But you promised.
I know, but I needed time to think. Come on. Anyway, something else has come up and I might be in a little more trouble.
Oh, no.
I want you to come away with me.
Where?
Fresno. Andy Montes runs a car wash up there. He said he'd give me a job.
Is that why you work so hard to finish school? To wash cars?
Hey, you're my girl, right?
Yes.
Well, then come with me.
Carlos, what have you done?
There's a man dead. It's my fault.
What?
The owner of the place where my Uncle Esteban works, Harrison, he fell from his horse and died.
But what does this have to do with you?
I saddled the horse. I wanted to show Esteban I could help him if he arranged for me to stay there a while. The cinch came loose. Harrison was thrown.
Oh, no. But it was an accident, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just like it was an accident, I was with that guy who didn't tell me he stole the car. Too many accidents.
Did Esteban tell the police it was you?
No. But there was somebody else. There was this guy who found Harrison's body, and I think he may have seen me.
Well, there's got to be some way else out of this besides running.
I'm not going to jail.
I don't want you to. But I also don't want us to live a life always afraid.
Does that mean no?
Oh, Carlos, Carlos. Maybe if you go to the police and you tell them what happened. Carlos!
Senor Harrington ride every morning for maybe half hour. But that morning when Bright Star came back to the stables without him, that's when I looked for him. Find him here in the creek bed.
Here?
Yes, senor.
You told the police that you didn't find anything on the trail that might have caused the horse to stumble?
Yes, senor.
And when he came in, his saddle was intact. There was no loose cinch, no broken stirrup leathers.
Nothing wrong, senor.
May I?
Yes.
Nothing that would have made Mr. Harrison fall off. Is that right?
Yes, senor.
Anyone else live here on the place beside the Harrisons?
Juanita, the maid, Roberto, who takes care of the grounds, and me.
And they were all here on the day of the accident?
Yes, except Roberto. He went home last month to visit with his sick mother in Guadalajara.
He responds very well.
He is a good horse.
Usually when you wave something like that in front of a horse's eye, he'll shy away from it.
Eye's not very good. He's old, like me.
Well, that is a puzzlement.
Senor?
Well, there was nothing on the trail for him to stumble over. I naturally assumed that he must have seen something that caused him to spook. But now, since he doesn't see too well, that's out, isn't it? Did you tell me that your groundskeeper, Roberto, had been away for a month?
Yes.
Well, this looks like it's been cut within the last day and a half. Who did it?
It was I, senor. I cut them.
How'd you get up there with your leg?
My leg, it's not bad.
Esteban, you're covering up for someone, aren't you? Someone who was here.
No, senor, it was accident. Truly.
Why didn't you tell me who you're covering up for?
Carlos Rojas, my nephew. He was cutting the tree. When he came back to the stables with Bright Star, all he would say is that there is an accident. Then he ran away.
Why did he run away?
The poor boy's frightened because he has trouble with the police. They say he stole a car.
I'm going to have to talk to Carlos. Where'll I find him?
He has an apartment, but I don't think he'd go there.
What about his friends?
He has a girl, Maria Cabrera. She works at Mexican Village Restaurant. She might know.
Esteban, Mrs. Harrison wants you.
Si, senor.
Well, Mr. Jones, Bright Star solving the accident for you?
Too bad horses don't talk, but I think I may have found someone who talked for him.
What do you mean by that?
There was somebody working on this tree just about the time that Mr. Harrison died. Good chance he may have seen the whole thing.
No coffee, thank you. Now, I understand how you feel, Maria.
But I don't know what to do, Father. Carlos and I have been going together since we were 13 years old. Is that possible?
Anything is possible when you're children. Being in love is easy and uncomplicated.
But I don't know if I love Carlos, Father. If I was truly in love with Carlos, wouldn't I go away with him like he wants me to?
Well, that's what happens when you grow up and become a responsible person. You no longer have those easy choices like when you're a child.
You've got to help Carlos, Father. Go to him. Make him understand what he must do.
All right, Maria, but I have to find him first.
Do you think he's gone away already?
Without you, no, I don't think so.
Hi, I'm looking for Maria Cabrera.
I'm Maria.
My name is Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator. I hate to intrude, but could you spare me a moment of your time?
Investigator?
I'm Father Sean Williams. What's this about?
I'm looking for a young man named Carlos Rojas. There was an accident, a riding accident on the ranch where he was working. I just want to ask him a few questions about it.
Well, I don't know where he is right now. Father, I have to prepare for the show tonight.
Miss Cabrera?
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to be going too, Mr. Jones.
Would you know where I might be able to find Carlos?
No.
You don't know where he hangs out or anything like that?
Oh, sure. The streets, pool halls, back alleys. Barrio is just one big playground. Have a good day, Mr. Jones.
Father, a man died. Carlos may be able to tell me how or why.
Maybe. Maybe not.
I figure one way to find out is to ask him.
Look, Mr. Jones, I've got 10 street gangs in my parish. Now, you start going around asking questions of the wrong people, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. The barrio doesn't take well to strangers.
Well, I guess I'll just have to make some friends.
Mr. Jones, maybe we'd do better looking for trouble together.
You know, that thought crossed my mind.
Mind riding in a van?
Lead on.
Bauman, when I called an emergency meeting of the board of directors, I am speaking with the authority of Mrs. Harrison. In other words, as far as Maplewood Enterprises is concerned, I'm calling the shots. So when you have something I want to hear, call me back. Esteban, what did you tell the detective?
The detective?
Barnaby Jones. You told him there might be a witness to Mr. Harrison's accident. Who was it?
Somebody saw the accident?
Ginny, I thought you had a probate meeting with the lawyers.
Well, I was just leaving. Who was it, Esteban?
Ginny, that's all right. I'm taking care of it. Don't worry about it.
Esteban?
My nephew, Carlos Rojas. He was here that day trimming some trees.
And he saw the fight?
What fight?
What did Carlos see, Esteban?
I do not know. Only that he come to tell me Senor Harrison is dead. Then he ran away.
Why did he run away?
Carlos already had trouble with the police over something else.
Where does Carlos live?
An apartment in a court, Morel and Bodega Drive.
Okay, Esteban, you can go.
Carlos is a good boy. You must understand.
I said you can go.
Do you think? Do you think Carlos saw you with Lyle?
It's possible.
I'm worried, Rod.
Please, don't be worried.
But if Carlos did see you there, don't you think that you should go to the police and tell them before he does?
Carlos was going to go to the police. I'm sure he would go to the police by now.
What are you looking for?
Looking for Lyle's watch.
What do you want that for?
Just in case Mr. Jones gets to Carlos and makes him talk. I think it might be a good idea if the police found this on Carlos first. It'll make anything he has to say sound like a lie after that.
It wasn't an accident, was it, Rod? You killed Lyle.
No, oh, Jenny.
You did,
Well,
didn't you?
he didn't start out that way. He made a lot of threats, and then when he fell from the horse...
So?
Well, I did it for us.
For us? Oh, my God.
Look, it's happened. It's something we can't change. I want you to understand that. And if I don't try to keep a lid on Carlos, everything is going to blow up in our face. Please try to understand that, Ginny.
You know what my wish I started to tell you this morning was? I wish I had met you first. Then all this wouldn't have happened.
Ginny. You just keep right on loving me. You're here. Everything's going to work out fine.
$8. Hey, that's all I got till Friday.
Well, so what? You get it back as soon as Ruben sells a stereo. What fish is that? You need proof? You got it. Look at here. See the receipt? I paid the whole thing out, $185.
I bring 75 easy.
All right, don't do me favors. Mario, what you got for me? Huh? Oh, yeah, Bato, you sculpted. That looks good now. I need the money. Come across.
Hey, why don't you take it to the pawn shop yourself, eh? Because he's hot, dummy. You can't show his face. Come on, give him some bread.
Well, all I got is 20, man.
Well, don't go out of your way, man.
Ahí está, 20 bolas.
Ernie?
Nothing for you.
Well, broad daylight, the barrio seems calm, huh? Not always the way it is.
This the place?
It's one of them. The gang that hangs around with Carlos, well, they might be a little edgy. Two of them got wounded in a rumble last week.
Padre, ¿podría hablar con usted un momentito? ¿Me permite? ¿Cómo ha
Sí,
estado?
claro.
Mucho gusto.
I'll be here in a minute, okay? Sure.
¿Sabe qué? Quería decirle. Por favor, venga a la casa.
Hey, ahí viene la placa.
Aguas.
Let's play 8-ball.
Armando, where'd you put that 2-ball at?
Aquí, hombre. Hey, loco, you're shooting full like you should. shooting opposite.
Gringo, you lost? The border. She's that way.
I'm looking for Carlos Rojas. Anybody here who might be able to tell me where I could find him?
Private cop, huh? Same difference.
Hey, this is a peaceful part of town until strangers start crossing the line, ¿verdad?
That's right. Sometimes they bring trouble. Want to rip us off. Want to use us for target practice.
No trouble, just a few questions.
A couple of 20s might loosen us up a little.
I have a feeling that if I gave you the money, you might still have a memory lapse. Why don't you put that away, son, before you do something that you all might regret? Ernie!
Cálmate. Cálmate.
¿Conoces el hombre, padre?
Sí. He's a friend of mine. Now put that thing away. Now. Anybody here seen Carlos? Ruben?
Not much help here.
Okay. See you in church, huh?
Tell him I want to talk to him. You can call me anytime.
Carlos. Here. No, man. Go on. Keep it. ¿Quién sabes? Yes.
Hey, loco. The private dick was packing us. He would have shot a hole right through your enchilada.
I only got 57 bucks. Hey, that's not gonna get you and Maria very far. You didn't put up yet, Ernie. What you got for me?
Nothing, I told you. And you're not taking my sister either. You're nothing but big trouble, man.
That's none of your business, Ese.
You stay away from Maria.
Come on, huh? All right, let him go. Get out of here. Come on, split!
Carlos. Hey, look, man, I'm not mad anymore. We gotta talk. Come on, Carlos, open up. Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?
Barnaby, what brings you to this side of town?
I left word for Mr. Jones to meet us here, Lieutenant, when I was called to give the last rites. Ernie Cabeda, Maria's brother.
What happened?
They think Carlos did it.
Any witnesses?
Yeah, a neighbor next door saw Cabrera kick in the door after calling Carlos' name. He came in and got shot.
Did the neighbor actually see Carlos?
Well, no, Carlos had left through the bathroom window. So what's your interest here, Barnaby?
I'm checking out the Lyle Harrison accident. It seems that Carlos was over there that day. He may have seen something.
Lyle Harrison. That could explain this.
Lyle. Oh, my love, Ginny. You find that here?
Yeah, in a dresser drawer.
Yes. Yes, I recognize it. It's, present I gave to Lal on our first wedding anniversary. Where did you find it?
In an apartment rented by a Carlos Rojas. You know the name?
Jenny, look at this. Sorry I took so long getting here, gentlemen.
Lieutenant Biddle, this is my late husband's associate, Rod Kersey.
Lieutenant?
How do you do?
I heard you talking about Carlos Rojas. That's Esteban's nephew, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Do you know Carlos?
No, not personally.
But Esteban told us that Carlos was here the day of the accident. What is this all about?
This Harrison's watch.
Where'd you get that?
We found it in Rojas' apartment, along with the body of a murdered young man.
Somebody was murdered?
A friend of Carlos. Now, the killing and the watch may be totally unrelated, but considering where we found it, there now is some possibility that your late husband's accident was not really an accident.
Are you saying that Carlos might have killed Lyle for his watch?
That does wrap up like a neat little package, doesn't it? They're expecting me to call in. May I use your phone?
Sure, it's right
May
there.
I see that again?
Okay.
Seems a little too neat.
What?
This watch. I'm wondering why you didn't report it missing.
I don't know.
Just an oversight, Mr. Jones. We've been under a tremendous strain with Lyle's death. I'm sure you understand that.
I most certainly do understand it. How much did this watch cost?
$1,200, I'm told.
Seems strange that somebody on the run would let an expensive item like this lie around. I don't see why he didn't hawk it or sell it.
It's a good question. You'll have to ask Carlos about that when the police catch up with him.
Barnaby?
Yes, Lieutenant. Oh, Mr. Kersey, allow me to congratulate you on becoming president of the company.
Well, it's a company secret. How did you find that out?
Well, you know, office gossip, especially about secrets.
Is murdering that friend of Carlos part of it? This perfect setup of yours?
He burst in the door. He came at me with a knife. I couldn't help it. It was self-defense.
Another accident? Is that it?
I told you before, Jenny, I did what I did for us. For both of us.
For us? You killed 2 people. Did this for both of us?
Look. Take it easy. We're both a little tired. As soon as I take care of Carlos, that'll be the end of it.
Get out. If I ever see you again, I'll just...
Wait a minute. If you think you're gonna bail out now, just because things are getting a little too dirty for you, I want you to remember one thing. You're an accessory to everything that's happened here. You just remember that. That the axe is gonna fall. It's gonna fall on both of us.
Maria, I'm sorry.
Just go away and leave me alone.
Ernie was just trying to protect me like a brother should. You could have talked to him. You could have reasoned with him.
What are you talking about?
You didn't have to kill him. You didn't have to.
Wait a minute. You think I killed your brother? I only just heard about it about half an hour ago. Hey, what's happening?
Father, don't do it.
This is none of your business, Ruben.
Hey, you guys are out of your skulls.
Enough bloodshed, Ruben. Stay out of this.
Don't be crazy. Let the police handle it.
Stay out of this, Padre, and don't turn the cops onto us. I'm warning you. Let's go.
Call Barnaby Jones right away. Have him meet me at the freight dock on Mason Street. Hurry up!
Strange. Of all the species, man is unique. You'd think we could do better.
Carlos's arrest record?
Father dead. Mother on welfare. Dropped out of school. Ever since he's been a teenager, he's been a member of a gang.
Wonder why they do that. Join gangs.
Security, identity, some mistaken romantic notion about machismo.
All that violence. I don't know, it just seems like so much waste.
Father Williams says that violence becomes a kind of a contest. Whoever builds up the best record of muscle and moxie becomes sort of a hero in the barrio.
It's like a hopeless treadmill to nowhere.
Carlos has one thing going for him.
What's that?
He's in love.
Maria?
Yes, and when someone of Carlos's character gets married and has kids, he takes an entirely different view of gang life.
Barnaby Jones' office, may I help you? Maria Cabrera.
Maria? Where is he? I'll be right there.
Trouble?
Maria says the gang has Carlos. She's afraid they're going to kill him. Where's Carlos?
I thought the gang would bring him here. They use this place as a hideout sometimes, but I don't see their car.
Let's try around the side.
Come on, man. Come on. You don't want to cook with your eyes closed, do you?
Get it over with.
Yeah,
I keep on telling you, I just found out about Ernie. I was just walking down the street and him on the...
lie! Lie! No. Hey, Ernie didn't want you to skip town with his sister. No. So when he came looking for you at your pad, you took him out.
With my gun. No, you gotta believe me. I slept in the park all night. No.
Wait, I hear something. Get him!
That's it. Come on.
easy with that thing, son.
Hey, yeah, they don't believe me. I didn't kill Ernie. Mario, get his gun.
Reuben, put that gun down.
Go back to your church, Padre.
This is my church, right here.
You take one more step and it'll also be your grave.
You're awful quick at setting up tombstones.
Get him out of here, Padre. This is none of his business.
I think it's none of your business. It's a matter for the courts to decide.
There's court justice and there's street justice. If we waited for the courts to do their jobs, we'd all be dead.
Sounds like this court's already made a decision. What do you base your evidence on?
On this, and what I know in here, in this. You shot him with my own piece.
That's a 22, isn't it?
Get him out of here.
Ernie was killed with a 38.
A 38?
Yeah, he couldn't have killed him with that gun.
It's a trick. Don't you see what he's trying to pull?
That's not a trick. I can prove it.
How? Yes, how?
All I need is a telephone.
You biddle.
Lieutenant, this is Barnaby. I need a favor from you.
Yeah, what is it, Barnaby?
I wonder if you would tell me again what caliber pistol it was that killed Ernie Cabrera.
It's the first time I've known you to have a memory problem.
I just want to be sure.
It was 38. Is everything all right?
It is now. Thanks.
Hey, so what happened?
It was a 38. This detective was right.
I believe that's mine.
Reuben?
Carlos knows how we feel about it.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Detective. If it wasn't Carlos in his pad, then who did ace Ernie?
Well, maybe Carlos can help us answer that question. That day out at the Harrisons, why did you run away?
It was me who saddled his horse. I already had a grand theft auto rap hanging over me. I didn't want to wait around for questions.
Well, that doesn't explain why you ran away. You couldn't have been worried about Esteban knowing. It must have been someone else who saw you, is that it?
Yeah, but I'm not sure he saw me.
Who was it?
I don't know, some guy who got to the body first. He was checking out Harrison's pulse.
Could you describe him?
I ducked away pretty fast, but I'm sure if I saw him again, I'd be able to tell him.
How's the boy?
It's his shoulder, he's all right.
Call Lieutenant Biddle and an ambulance.
Come on, we'll go out the back way.
Here, hey, Mario. Stay with Carlos, huh?
Sorry.
End of the line, Kersey. I think we'll let the real court handle this one. Está bien?
Está bien.
Bueno.
According to Lieutenant Biddle, Jenny Harrison is doing a lot of talking that Kersey hadn't figured on.
The lieutenant also told me about the stolen car. They checked the fingerprints. Why didn't you tell me it was my brother who stole the car and not you?
Ernie's gone now. It don't matter.
The code of silence. You see how it almost ruined both of your lives?
I guess it all turned out for the best thanks to Mr. Jones here.
Thanks to the Padre here.
Thanks to the Padre there, huh?
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Leslie Charlson, Frank Marth, Robert Hogan, special guest star Tim O'Connor. Tonight's episode, Honeymoon with Death.
No one would notice if we slipped out now.
Oh. Now, how often does a girl get married? Let's not rush it. I want to remember this for a long time.
You happy?
What do you think?
I think I'm gonna love being married.
I've known Dwight since he was, this high, Victoria, and I cannot imagine him coming up with a prettier bride than you.
Well, thank you, May.
Now, that wedding picture in the paper this morning was pretty, but nothing compared to the real thing. You're a lucky man.
Ain't it the truth? What'd I tell you? Is something wrong?
Well, you promised you wouldn't print that picture.
Picture? Hey, that's right, yeah. Well, I didn't. And I told them not to. Flora, that wedding picture. I thought I specifically told you that it should not be published.
Oh, you really didn't mean that, boss. Oh, stop being so modest, both of you. Just consider it a wedding present from the staff of the Holbein Journal. Oh, a Los Angeles paper picked it up, too.
Flora, when I tell you not to do...
Never mind, Dwight. Let's just go, okay?
Okay. Susan.
Hold it, you two.
Dwight, please.
Oh, sure. You go on. I'll be there in a minute.
Something wrong, Dwight?
Oh, no, Sheriff. Vicky's just anxious to get going.
Have you seen this girl around here?
Never mind.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd be wanting another interview so soon, especially on your wedding day. Thought you'd be on your honeymoon. What's wrong?
She's gone, Barnaby. My wife. She drove off right after the wedding.
Are you telling me that your wife drove off without you?
I know how it sounds. They're all giving me the horse laugh back in town, but it is no joke. She went in to get out of her gown, and instead she took off in my car. It has been 4 hours.
Well, in my day, they had an expression, I think it was called wedding night jitters.
I thought of that too, but Vicky isn't an old-fashioned girl in that sense.
You don't have to be old-fashioned to have second thoughts about marriage these days.
But that doesn't explain why she was so upset about having a picture in the paper.
You mean that wedding picture you printed?
She never explained why, but she just made me promise that it would not be in the paper. My staff didn't listen, and it ran it anyway.
When did she see the picture?
Just before she took off. Barnaby, she was scared. I could see it in her face.
You check everywhere? Her apartment? Friends?
She's disappeared completely. Barnaby, you know I wouldn't bother you on your vacation unless it was so important.
Well, I'll tell you what we do. We go over to your office, and if she hasn't tried to contact you by now, I'll check into it for you.
Thank you.
Hold on to your horses, lady. I'm coming.
I'll fill it up with premium. Does that phone work?
Yeah, if you got a dime. Don't worry about being late, though. Just keep the groom waiting a little. He'll stay on his toes more afterwards.
Then you don't know anything about her? You never asked her anything about her family?
No. And when I started to ask, well, she didn't say so in so many words, but, well, I could tell she didn't want me to question her.
Didn't that make you a little curious?
To tell you the truth, Barnaby, she was a dream that walked in my office 2 months ago, and I've been afraid that she'd go poof ever since.
Holbein Journal. Just a moment, operator. Mr. Kincaid, Victoria, collect.
Well, what are you waiting for? Accept the charges.
You see, I told you, she got over the jitters.
Yes, operator, we'll accept.
Oh, Vicky,
Dwight? Oh, Dwight.
we've been worried sick. Are you okay? Where are you?
I'm in a phone booth in a gas station. Dwight, I'm sorry, but maybe I can explain.
Go on, Vicky. Operator? Operator, I've been cut off.
Come on now, Vicky.
I'll scream.
Oh? And who's gonna come running to help you? That old man? You don't really want to see him get hurt now, do you?
Look, the people I was talking to, they're going to be worried about me.
Huh? Well, what about Mr. Fannin? Don't you think he's worried about you? He's worried sick.
Stuart worried about me?
Hey, listen now, he's had us looking all over for you since you took off. Oh, Toby, call him up and let him know we found her. Then get a car out of here. Come on.
Her name is Lily Mendican, Miss Lily.
Miss Lily?
Yes?
We had a collect call here a little while ago, and we were cut off. I wonder if you could give me that number.
Well, now, let me look it up.
There was a collect call. You should...
Let's see. Yes, I have it right here. 555-7781.
555-7781. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where would that call have come from?
Well, then that would be, Hayden's gas station in Packerville.
I see. Hayden's gas station in Packerville.
Mr. Bannon? Mr. Cross?
Where is she? When Toby called, I suggested we rent something in the area, something secluded, until we get what we've come for.
Yeah, I found a place in the hills. Toby's there with her now.
Did she say anything?
No, sir. I'm afraid that cooperation's not going to be one of her middle names.
How did you find her?
There was a picture in one of the L.A. papers. I started tracking it down and...
What picture?
Mr. Fannin, Victoria was married this morning.
You're telling me that fellow wasn't her bridegroom? Boy, sure had me fooled.
What kind of looking man was he? Tall man? Short?
Well, you mean the one that was dressed in the fancy cowboy outfit. He had blonde hair. He was kind of tall. I had to look up to him. About, I'd say, 40 years old.
In a cowboy outfit?
Barnaby, there was a man dressed like that back at the hotel.
There was?
During the reception, he was in the lobby.
He buying a gas?
Yeah, 10, 12 gallons, something like that.
He paying cash or credit card?
Credit card.
Here's your receipt, sir.
Yeah, you want to see it? Just a second. Let's see,
What kind of a car was it?
Station wagon. That's not it. Oh, here. This is the one.
Rail, looks like. Elliott Rail.
Doesn't ring a bell.
License number 965 PCE. I'll check this out.
Thank you very much.
Operator, I'd like to make a collect call to area code 213.
Barnaby Jones' office, may I help? Oh, yes, operator, I'll accept the charges.
Oh, Betty, nice to find you in.
Well, Barnaby, what's the matter? Aren't the fish biting?
Well, the fish are biting, and that's not all.
Don't tell me that you got involved with something on your vacation.
Would you believe you're right smack dab in the middle of a honeymoon?
Barnaby?
Not mine. I'll tell you about it when I see you. Betty, I want you to check a license number 965 PCE. It's a station wagon, driver's name, Elliott Rail. R-A-I-L.
Well, Barnaby, if you have all this, why do you need me?
Because I need Mr. Rail's address and anything else you can dig up.
I'll get right on it.
Thanks.
Fine.
Excellent.
Mr. Fannin,
Good to see you, sir.
Where's Victoria?
In the upstairs bedroom. She can't get out. This way, sir. Just go around back. And away she went, like a thief in the night.
How else was I going to get away from you?
Well, could have come to me, said thanks, but no thanks, and left without any hard feelings.
I wanted to. I wanted to say a lot of things, but I couldn't. And anyway, you never would have let me go that easily.
Conceit doesn't become you, my dear. Even though you are one of the most sensational women I've ever seen in my life. I do let go of things sometimes, especially when I'm being clawed and bitten.
By me? Oh, I think you have me confused with one of your other women. I've never been any good at drawing blood.
I didn't think I ever gave you reason to be good at anything like that. You're good at enjoying life, jetting about the world, tasting every luxury, meeting all the beautiful people, becoming one of them, one of the most beautiful of them all.
Come on, Stu. Save that for some other young starry-eyed fool. I've already had your trip to Never Never Land.
Come off it. You loved it, every minute of it.
Yes, I did. Until I discovered I was just a sham, a fake. Somebody you used to distract a gullible ambassador or finance minister while you were conning them into signing over half their country's treasury to you.
Business is business.
And dog eats dog. Only with you, the dogs are eating up all the wheat that's supposed to feed the starving natives. And what about those cozy little oil deals and all the rest that you made me a part of?
My. First conceit and now conscience. But not so much conscience that you didn't figure a way to do a little shaking down on your own, eh?
What's shaking down?
How does this Dwight Kincaid, this Hicktown newspaper publisher, figure into all of this anyway? Are you by any chance planning to help this husband of yours become famous?
Dwight has nothing to do with us. Now, you leave him out of it.
Stuart Fannin, exposed as a crook. Is that how you picture the headlines to read?
Headlines? What are you talking about?
All right. All right. The book.
What book?
You are cute, aren't you? My financial ledger. Last year's figures. The real ones. Where is it?
Stuart, I didn't take any book.
You had the key. You had access and my trust. It disappeared the same night you did. What is that supposed to be, a coincidence? I'm waiting.
Yes, sirree. Interested in the station wagon, eh? I can let you have this little fella really cheap. Mr.
Jones, Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator.
Private investigator? Have there been complaints? Look, whatever it is, we can settle.
No, nothing like that. I'm trying to track down the driver of this car. I'm interested in the man who rented this wagon. His name is Rail?
Ah, yes, Mr. Rail, yes. Well, Mr. Rail brought this wagon back. Oh, it's been a couple of hours now. Insufficient for his needs. He transferred the rental to another car.
Another car?
Oh, big luxury job. He wanted one with a built-in bar. I couldn't help him there.
Did he leave an address?
Yes, sir. Yes, he did. He was staying at the Holbein Hotel, but along with his fancy car, he wanted to get himself a fancy new address. He's out at the Grover place.
The Grover place? Where would I find that?
Ah, well, now that's Route 24. That'd be the third right, then all the way to the end. It's the last driveway on the left. You can't miss it.
Much obliged.
Mr. Jones, Long as you're in town, maybe you'd like to rent this nifty little sports job here. You know, private investigator. You gotta think of your image.
You know something? I gave up images a long time ago. Along with my trench coat.
What can I do for you?
I'm looking for Elliot Rail.
Is that right? What for?
You wouldn't be Mr. Rail, would you? I hear that he likes to wear fancy Western clothes like you're wearing.
Well, what's this all about?
I understand you got into a car with a lady named Victoria Kincaid in a gas station in Packerville.
Oh? Now, where'd you get that?
What's the problem, Elliot? Well, how can I help you, Mr.
Jones. Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator. I'm trying to locate a Victoria Kincaid. And your name?
Cross. Edward Cross. Kincaid. Isn't that the woman you mentioned before? Well, go on, don't be modest. Tell the man what a good Samaritan you are.
Oh, well, I promised that I wouldn't say anything.
She was running away from her husband, didn't you say? Called her wedding a big mistake.
That's right. That's right. She was very, very upset. When Toby and I drove into the gas station, she asked us if we were going her way.
Toby?
Oh, he's an associate of mine.
Toby drove her car?
That's right. And then we switched back about, it must have been an hour. She said she was feeling much, much better.
And she drove away in her own car?
That's right. Last time I saw her, she was headed down 395, hugging that speed limit.
395, that would take her to San Bernardino. And then after that?
Well, for that, you'll have to trace her through San Bernardino, won't you? Now, if you don't mind, Mr. Rail and I have some business to attend to.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you for your help.
How's it going, Barnaby? Find the missing bride yet?
She ought to be past San Bernardino by now. Or, what do you know about the Grover place?
The Grover place?
Yeah, Route 24.
It's up off the road to Packerville. What about it?
It'd be pretty expensive to rent, wouldn't it?
Well, not if you're working off your second gold mine.
Or somebody else's.
You talking about someone in particular?
Rail, Elliot Rail. Name mean anything?
No. Who is he?
I don't know. Who would he have had to contact to rent that place?
Bryce Logan. He'd be the real estate agent. You want me to ask him?
Yeah, you know, the funny thing about this case, it gets more and more expensive. An ordinary station wagon turns into a luxury sedan. A hotel room turns into the Grover place. Have you heard of anyone very, very rich blowing into town lately?
No. Except one of my deputies, Bud Spencer, says he saw some VIPs land today in a helicopter.
Who were they?
I don't know exactly. He said the chopper had a name on the side. You want to get me Bud Spencer at his home, please?
Find anything?
Nothing.
Look, check in there again. It's got to be here someplace.
Why? Just because she was going to move in with this guy, that doesn't mean she'd bring it in with her. She's probably got it locked away someplace.
We'll talk about it later, okay?
Don't move. Who are you?
Drop it! Let's get out of here.
Eustace. Yeah? What? I'll be right there. Dwight Kincaid's been shot. Looks bad. What do you make of it?
I'd say somebody was looking for something.
Cleaned him out, I'd say.
Whoever did the cleaning didn't sweep too well, or why would they have left this?
Probably they were just getting started when he walked in on them.
Just getting started with all this mess?
Well, then what were they looking for?
That's a good question.
It's messy. It's too bad that couldn't have been avoided. What if he lives? Can he identify you?
No way. It was dark in there. You never got a real look.
All right. You didn't find anything?
Nothing. I don't think she ever hid it there.
Cross. Ask Victoria if she'll have a drink with me. In private. Yes, sir.
He wants to see you.
What if I don't want to see him?
Vicky, please.
You really are the perfect flunky, aren't you, Ed?
What do you expect me to be? Do you want me to lose my job? Give up the time and work I've put in?
I didn't take anything when I left.
It's not me you've got to convince.
Can't you talk to him?
I've tried, Vicky. I really have. He's waiting.
You used to like the way I made old fashions.
Is this be kind to Victoria treatment?
Please.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
You used to like a lot of things that I did.
Well, I was young then. What girl that age wouldn't? You were rich, powerful, a doer.
A little good looking.
Yes. And I was fresh off the campus, full of dreams.
I opened a few doors for you. I showed you some rooms that you never knew existed.
I never thought life could be so fantastically exciting.
You remember the first time I took you to New York?
I don't think we ever slept. All the parties, people I had only read about.
I was happy then. Indeed, I was. You were too.
That was then.
Well, nothing's changed.
I'm married.
You had a ceremony. Ceremonies can be annulled.
If you want them annulled. I love him. Can't you understand that?
All right. If you give me back my ledger, I'll leave you to your Hicktown newspaperman.
Why can't you believe me?
You want money? Is that it?
Why do you think everything has a price?
Because it does. How much?
If I told you, would you let me go? No strings attached?
Just tell me where it is and you've got it.
In Dwight's house in Holbein.
Exactly where in the house?
Well, take me there. I'll show you.
I said where?
In Dwight's study, in his desk. I'll get it for you.
You must think I'm a fool. Cross! Did you really think that I wouldn't have that house searched by now? I'm turning her over to Toby for real.
I'm tired of waiting. I want some answers.
Betty? What are you doing here?
Oh, and I couldn't reach you at the motel last night, and I had all this fabulous research that I did on the minister. I mean, you did ask for it.
I see. Anything to get out of the office.
What are you doing here?
Dwight Kincaid was shot last night.
Dr. Monroe.
Yes?
Anything new on Dwight Kincaid?
No, not yet, I'm afraid. It's really too early to tell, especially after all night on the operating table.
I was hoping you'd have better news for me than that.
Well, he is holding his own. That's not the worst thing in the world at a time like this. Now, will you excuse me?
Who shot him?
We don't know. What do you got on the Minister Company?
Well, first of all, it's a subsidiary of Helbert Corporation, one of the Fannin Enterprises.
Stuart Fannin?
Stuart Fannin.
That could explain a lot of things. Mr. Rail, for instance.
Here's another one.
Well, what do you know about that?
Fannin's private secretary, Victoria Norris.
Then, nowadays she is Mrs. Dwight Kincaid. No wonder she got so upset when he printed her picture.
Do you think that's who she's running from, Stuart Fannin?
No, Betty. I think it's Stuart Fannin has found her.
I wish you'd let the sheriff in on this now.
I think I better get a little more information before I do something that'll embarrass everybody.
All right, but if you're not back here in 20 minutes, I'm going to bring the sheriff back up here with or without your approval.
In 20 minutes, you'll have it.
Mr. Jones, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was under the impression that we'd answered all your questions.
Well, this time I thought I'd like to talk to Mr. Fannin himself.
Who?
Stuart Fannin, the man you work for.
Look, Mr. Jones,
Edward,
I don't see...
don't dig yourself a hole you can't get out of. You're apparently a very good detective, Mr. Jones. I'm Stuart Fannin. Would you like to come in?
Yes, I'd like to talk to you
About my secretary, Victoria, of course. Next time we need a detective in Los Angeles, we call this man. Victoria, this is Mr. Jones.
How do you do?
Sit down, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, didn't Dwight do an interview with you just a couple of days ago?
Yes, and then he hired me to find you.
Yes, I suppose I should have contacted him again to tell him the truth.
What is the truth?
The truth is I married Dwight, or had a ceremony. Well, Mr. Fannin and I have rather explosive tempers, and we had said some very unkind things to each other 2 months ago. Am I making any sense?
You're saying you married Dwight to hurt Mr. Fannin?
Yes. And before I knew it, there was my picture in that paper. Could you imagine me in that small town for the rest of my life?
Hardly.
Dwight could.
Yes, I know. That's why I tried to call him from the gas station to tell him.
But you hung up, or were you disconnected?
Oh, no. I just wasn't ready to talk to him.
To tell him about you and Mr. Fannin?
Mr. Jones, do you know what Holbein is like? It's Wonderland. It's Oz. Well, sooner or later, you have to go back to reality, to things you're used to.
New York penthouses, private jets.
Mr. Jones, I'm sorry about Dwight. I'll contact him and call him. I hope he'll forgive me.
If he recovers.
Well, there are lots of other women, and he's a very attractive man.
I didn't mean recover from you, Mrs. Kincaid. I meant recovering from a bullet somebody put into him last night. Are you all right?
Oh, yes, I fell last night. Well, was it serious? Will he be all right?
They don't know yet. It's still touch and go.
This is really very unfair of you, Mr. Jones, bringing this up right now, just when Victoria has felt relieved about her choices.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. I hope he'll be all right.
As we all are, of course. And now, if there's nothing further.
Well, I guess we don't have anything further to talk about. Thank you very much for your frankness, anyway. Mr. Fannin?
Mr. Jones? You were really quite good. I would hate to have Toby shoot that man.
I was just about to go for the sheriff.
I think that might not be a bad idea anyway.
There's something going on back up there, isn't there?
I don't know. According to our young runaway bride...
You saw her?
Yeah, we had quite a talk. Problem is to decide how much she means and how much they were forcing her to tell me.
Forcing it in front of you? How?
Betty, when I told her about Dwight, the look in her eyes, she still loves him.
Barnaby, you're not going back up there, are you?
Her eyes didn't lie to me, Betty. Fannin is holding her against her will. The time has come when we've got to start thinking about her life.
All right, Stuart Fannin is a ruthless businessman, but he certainly wouldn't kill her, would he?
She ran away once. He went to great effort to bring her back.
And he obviously doesn't want to let her go.
But that doesn't explain searching Dwight's place or putting a bullet in him. Victoria has something that Fannin wants.
Barnaby, I'll be back in a half an hour with the sheriff. I mean, it's not necessary for you to put yourself on the line.
All right, relax. It'll take me half that long to circle back through the trees. Here.
Oh, all right.
Can I come in? Fannin doesn't know I'm here, Vicky. I came on my own. It's gone way too far already. God only knows where it's going to stop. I've never seen him like this. There's no telling what he'll do next.
After last night, killing me is about the only thing left.
That's what I mean. If he does go off the deep end, that makes me an accessory. And that's where I draw the line. I'm getting you out of here before it's too late.
Was Rail out there and Toby?
Toby's out front. I'll leave the door unlocked. You go when I get Rail out of sight. Meet me at the garage.
All right.
Ed?
Thank you.
Just the man I wanted to see.
Where you been, up there with her?
Why?
Mr. Fannon's been looking for you.
Well, tell him I've been talking with her. 5, 10 minutes more. I think she's about to tell us. We'll take your car down the back road. I think we can make it.
Well, what about you when Stuart finds out what you've done?
He won't find out.
I'll be back before he knows you're gone.
Hey! Where do you think you're going? Rail? I saw that. Why did he do it? Why did he run you down?
Book.
What book?
Fannon's ledger.
What are you going to do when they find out about Rail?
Don't worry about it.
You're not doing this to help me, are you?
Help you? Of course I knew you didn't take the book. How could you take it when I took it?
You took it.
Well, you know how it is working for an unpredictable employer like Fannin. I needed insurance, an edge. Something to hold over him if he ever tried to fire me.
And all this time, you let them think I had it.
Well, you just had the bad luck to leave the night I took it. Now you've escaped, killed Rail, and disappeared. They'll find your car here. But this time, the bad penny's never going to turn up again. End of the line, Victoria.
Is that a scoop or is that a scoop?
And when the Justice Department gets through with his ledger, he'll be lucky if he gets out in time to see the new century roll around.
You know, this could be Pulitzer Prize stuff. Look what you do with the front page. Fannin exposed up here, balanced down here by a picture of Fannin talking to one of his henchmen. And over here...
And personal secretary. That was the official title. There was a lot more to it than that. It's all there.
You didn't have to.
Yes, I did. When we go, you can read it and tell me what you want to do.
I've read it, and I know what to do.
Well, folks, if you'll excuse me, there's a lake full of fish out here that my reel and I have been neglecting.
Barnaby, do you remember the Dichter murder case?
Yes?
Well, you had said that you were coming back into town tonight, so when they called, I agreed to a meeting at 7.
You did. Well, folks, see you next trout season.